Chapter 2953. A silhouette came out of the barrier surrounding the black tortoise. It was the Feng clan's ancestor. Su Feng lived in the Feng clan. The Feng clan's ancestor was trembling with fear at first, fearing that disaster would befall him. In the end, he simply left the Feng clan quietly and fled to the last place the Feng clan used to protect themselves in the region's chaos. He hid in the low-level universe that was secretly controlled by the Feng clan. This time, the Feng clan took the risk out of desperation to kill Su Feng. The Feng clan's ancestor had long been prepared here. Su Feng. The Feng clan's ancestor looked down at Su Feng from midair and shouted coldly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. From the black tortoise's back, hundreds of thousands of cultivators flew out and surrounded the mountain where Su Feng was. The Feng clan's cultivators were all out. Hu Yufei's flood dragon carriage appeared in the sky. She was lying comfortably on a soft couch with a dozen young girls serving her. They were watching the scene below as if they were watching a play. Feng Han, Dong Xianjun, and the rest appeared beside the Feng clan's ancestor. The way they looked at Su Feng was like looking at a prey that had fallen into a hunter's trap. Su Feng did not move and sneered. How dare the Feng clan? Are you planning to betray the Dongxian divine domain? The Feng clan's ancestor smiled domineeringly as if everything was under his control. He shouted, Su Feng, if you were to be Dongxuan's top genius obediently, the Feng clan would have maintained sufficient respect for you. However, you are arrogant and conceited, vainly trying to annihilate my clan. Now that you have forced my clan into a corner, I have to lead the entire clan to fight you to the death. Ancestor is wrong. This time, the fish will die, but the net will not break. Feng Han laughed proudly. He then sneered at Su Feng. Su Feng, oh Su Feng, you're just a lowly existence from a low-level universe. Once you've gained power, you've become complacent. You wouldn't have thought that you would fall into my clan's trap. Dong Xianjun shouted coldly, Su Feng, you've offended countless experts and forces in the Dongxian divine domain. Now, not only have you formed a deadly feud with the Yi clan of Zhongshuan, you even dare to look down on the Hu people. You only have yourself to blame for your current ending. The other cultivators were also discussing Su Feng without restraint. Feng Jinhua secretly transmitted his thoughts to Su Feng. Master, even if I have to risk my life, I will create a chance for you to escape. Hu Yufei, Feng clan's ancestor's ancestor. I want you. I want to see the clan's performance. The Feng clan's ancestor looked hesitant. The old ancestor of the Feng race was a wily old fox. He knew in his heart that even though Su Feng had fallen into the trap of the Feng race, a trapped beast would still fight. Even if the Feng race could kill him, they would have to pay a heavy price. If the Feng clan did not have enough strength, even if they reached the Zhongshuan divine domain, the Hu people would not take the Feng clan seriously. Feng Han said ruthlessly, Ancestor, Su Feng has lost the protection of the Jioshuan laws here. Isn't it easy to kill him? As long as young master Hu is satisfied, the Feng clan will have to pay a price. Kill Su Feng? Do you, Feng Han, dare to do so? Su Feng looked at Feng Han with eyes filled with disdain and contempt. He then pointed at Feng Han with a domineering smile. You shameless bastard, you're worse than a beast. The first person I'm going to kill today is you. Feng Han laughed maniacally. Su Feng, you're a turtle in a jar now. How dare you boast so shamelessly? Didn't you want to kill me to avenge Goddess Luo? I'm here now. Come and kill me. As you wish. Su Feng raised the corner of his mouth and revealed a cold smile. Everyone snorted. In the shadow behind Hu Yufei, the Shadow Clan's expert suddenly shouted, Be careful. Feng Han was stunned. Be careful? There were so many experts here. What was there to be careful of? Chi! A blood vine suddenly drilled into the void behind Feng Han and pierced into the back of his head. Countless blood streaks penetrated into Feng Han's head. Even his Dao palace was penetrated. Under the intense pain, Feng Han let out a mournful scream. It turned out that Su Feng had secretly removed the heaven-piercing Blood King vine from his body while everyone was being arrogant. He used his talent to drill into the void and gave Feng Han a fatal blow unexpectedly. Su Feng, you're courting death. The Feng clan's ancestor was shocked and furious. He released his consciousness to attack the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. Chi! The heaven-piercing Blood King vine's sneak attack succeeded. It drilled into the void again and disappeared without a trace. Feng Han's head was drilled by the heaven-piercing Blood King vine's blood streaks, but he wouldn't die in a short period of time. He let out a mournful scream. When the screams entered the ears of everyone at the side, they were all frightened. Their entire body was emitting a cold aura. Su Feng, I didn't expect you to be so ruthless at such a young age. The Feng clan's ancestor looked at Su Feng and gritted his teeth. Su Feng snorted. Your Feng clan wants to kill me. Now, you're saying that I'm ruthless. Isn't it ridiculous? Feng clan, regardless of the cost, kills Su Feng. The Feng clan's ancestor ordered the Feng clan's cultivators. His voice was filled with killing intent. Hu Yufei also ordered Zhan Shun, assist the Feng clan's cultivators. Kill that lowly ant. Who knew Zhan Shun, who was standing at the side, cupped his fists at Hu Yufei. Although Zhan Shun was born lowly and is now a slave of the Hu people, I, Zhan Shun, am also a cultivator. Using such means to besiege an exceptional genius, Zhan Shun can't do it. Please forgive me, young master Hu. Hu Yufei was furious. Zhan Shun, you even dare to defy my order. Are you thinking of betraying the Hu people? Zhan Shun doesn't dare. Zhan Shun lowered his head and said, but his body didn't move at all. Hu Yufei snorted. Damn slave. Wait until we return to the Hu people. See how I'll deal with you. Swish. Swish, swish. More than 10,000 Feng clan's cultivators, each with hundreds of them forming a formation. They crazily attacked Su Feng with an overwhelming force. Their attacks were like surging waves. They were about to engulf Su Feng and the mountain peak below him. Have you all forgotten that I, Su Feng, am a great jinx? Whoever provokes me will be unlucky. Luck Spider. Su Feng smiled embarrassedly and immediately released the Luck Spider. In the mystic world of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain, Su Feng still had some scruples when he used the Luck Spider. However, in the chaos of this domain, he was completely unrestrained. Puff! The Luck Spider spat out a white mist that swept in all directions. The aura was very illusory, but it revealed a kind of ominous power that could cause calamity and misfortune. Wherever it went, it directly passed through the Feng clan's cultivators' divine power and seeped into the bodies of those cultivators. Sizzle. The astonishing power of calamity and misfortune quickly devoured the Feng clan's cultivators' luck. The Luck Spider's power also contained a terrifying power that could cause life to decline and die of illness. The Feng clan's cultivators with slightly lower cultivation levels inexplicably began to wither. They spat out large mouthfuls of black blood, and the aura of death appeared on their bodies. Soon, the terrifying power of misfortune, calamity, and disease consumed all their life energy, and they died on the spot. Only the Feng clan's cultivators whose cultivation had reached the level of Tao Master or higher could barely resist the Luck Spider's power with their powerful life energy. However, their aura instantly became dispirited, and black blood kept flowing out of their 7 orifices. Luck Spider, retreat quickly. The Shadow Clan's expert's terrified voice came from the shadow behind Hu Yufei. A shadow wrapped around Hu Yufei, and she was ready to teleport out at any time. The Feng clan's old ancestor and the others' divine light changed instantly, and they all retreated out of the barrier. The 10,000 Feng clan's cultivators were utterly defeated in an instant. 2/3 of them died on the spot. Although the remaining cultivators were lucky enough to survive, they were all in a state of serious injury, and they all retreated one after another. The other Feng clan's cultivators also retreated one after another. They retreated until they were 1,000 miles away from Su Feng, and then they stopped trembling. Su Feng's gaze swept across the Feng clan's cultivators, and finally landed on the Feng clan's old ancestor. He revealed a domineering smile. Feng Clan's old ancestor. Now your Feng Clan's net has been broken, but my fish is still unharmed. So many clansmen had died all of a sudden, and they were all the elites of the Feng Clan. The Feng Clan's old ancestor's heart was constantly dripping blood, and his eyes were burning with fury and killing intent. Su Feng, my Feng Clan, is absolutely irreconcilable with you. The Feng Clan's old ancestor let out a thunderous roar and released his thoughts. He shuttled through the barrier outside the black tortoise and immediately turned into a stretch of lightning. As the thunderous roar rumbled, a terrifying aura of destruction instantly enveloped Su Feng and the surrounding 1,000 miles of void. More than 20 Feng Clan's higher-ups, and the weakest among them was at the upper Dao Lord realm. Among them, there were 5 Dao profound experts, and they also charged towards Su Feng at the same time. Even without the protection of Jiuquan's heavenly laws, you can't kill my Su Feng. Not only that, my Su Feng can kill your Feng Clan's experts as easily as killing chickens. Su Feng was in high spirits, and a domineering aura was born from within. My lord's 10 Directions seal. The supreme might that ruled over 10 Directions broke through the surrounding shackles and collided with the Feng Clan's old ancestors' lightning world. Layers of lightning started to shatter. The Feng Clan's old ancestors' world was collapsing continuously. Immediately after, a blood-red saber light swept out. Boom! Ice-cold and fierce slaughter aura billowed to the sky. The blood-red light instantly enveloped all directions, enveloping more than 20 Feng Clan's experts that charged over. Blood, hell, soul, slaying saber, kill. Su Feng let out a voice that was filled with a desolate will. A blood-red clothed Su Feng condensed from the blood-red light world, brandishing the saber and slashing through the air. Puff, puff, puff. The Feng Clan's experts below Dao Profound had their bodies directly slashed into pieces by the shocking slaughter will and power contained within the blood-red saber light. Their origin souls were extinguished, and they died or were heavily injured on the spot. Although those 5 Dao Profound Realm experts defended against the slaughter power within the blood hell soul-slaying saber, their Dao hearts were impacted by the incomparably powerful slaughter will. Immediately, 2 people's Dao hearts shattered, and the other 3 people's Dao hearts also suffered considerable damage. Chi, 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 chi. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine drilled out of the void and tightly entangled 2 Dao Profound Realm experts, frenziedly devouring their life energy. The other Feng Clan's Dao Profound Realm experts hurriedly teleported away and no longer dared to approach Su Feng. The Feng Clan lost experts once again, making the Feng Clan's old ancestor shocked and enraged, grief-stricken. Waving his hand, he grabbed out 2 figures. They were precisely Dong Xianichen and Dong Xinchan. Chapter 2954. Su Feng sneered disdainfully. Surrender without a fight? Do you think I, Su Feng, am an idiot? If I fall into your hands, not only will I lose my life, but the 2 of them will also die. If I, Su Feng, was so stupid, I would have died countless times. Then I can only kill them. Feng Clan's ancestors' eyes flashed with a sharp, killing intent. Dong Xianichen looked at Dong Xianjun and shouted angrily, Dong Xianjun, we are all disciples of Heaven Pavilion. Why are you not saving us? I don't care if I die. Save Xiaochan. Dong Xianjun sneered indifferently. When you colluded with Su Feng, why didn't you think that this day would come? Dong Xinchan was originally my Dao companion, but she was snatched away by you. I can't even kill you too, so why would I save you? Young Master Dong Xianjun, there's no need to say anything. Killing the 2 of them can at least disturb Su Feng's Dao heart. Feng Clan's ancestor thought and was about to kill Dong Xianichen and Dong Xinchan, fate and fortune, controlling heaven's secrets. If I want it, heaven must have it. Although Su Feng wasn't stupid enough to exchange himself for Dong Xianichen and Dong Xinchan, how could he watch the 2 of them die? He immediately activated the heaven's secret life shrinking technique and shrouded Dong Xinchan and Dong Xianichen with his gaze. Feng Clan's ancestors' thought turned into destructive lightning and shrouded Dong Xianichin and Dong Xinchan. However, he didn't expect an invisible hand to grab his body, soul, and the entire space. Feng Clan's ancestor spat out a mouthful of blood. The lightning surrounding Dong Xianichin and Dong Xinchan dissipated. Swoosh! In a flash, a blood vine came out of the void and entangled Dong Xinchan and Dong Xianichin. It dragged them into the void and disappeared without a trace. Su Feng actually saved 2 disciples of Dong Xian Heaven Pavilion under Feng Clan's ancestor's nose. Everyone was shocked and surprised, and Dong Xinjun was even more flabbergasted. Hu Yufei, who was in the carriage, exclaimed in surprise, "What divine power is that?" From the shadow behind him came the voice of the Shadow Clan expert, Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique. This lowly ant's divine ability is quite interesting. Hu Yufei chuckled. Zhan Chun, who was standing at the side, smiled bitterly. The heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, which was renowned throughout Jiuquan, had actually been described as interesting by this young master who, from this, one could see just how much of an idiot he was. Su Feng had used the heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, to forcefully seize the karmic fate of others. He had expended some of his lifespan and looked a little tired, but it didn't affect him too much. The blood-red vines appeared from the void with Dong Xinchan and Dong Xianichin in tow. They were sucked into Su Feng's Fuyao cave abode, and the blood-red vines merged with his physical body once more. Condensing a strand of thought, he entered the cave and checked on Dong Xinchan and Dong Xianichin. Realizing that the 2 of them were only shackled and not injured, he immediately relaxed. Dong Xianichin gratefully said, "Su Feng, I can't thank you enough. It is my and Xiaochan's fortune to have a friend like you." Su Feng said, "Since we are friends, you don't have to treat me like an outsider. Stay in my cave abode and rest for the time being. After I've dealt with the Feng Clan and Hu Yufei, I'll remove the shackles for you." The Feng Clan's old ancestor was shocked and angry, but he couldn't do anything to Su Feng. He could only cup his fists and plead to Hu Yufei, "Young master Hu, even if the Feng Clan were to give it their all, it would still be difficult to kill Su Feng. Please ask the expert from the Shadow Clan to make a move. The Feng Clan is really useless. This young master even has some doubts about whether you are qualified to be the slaves of the Hu people." Hu Yufei snorted disdainfully at the Feng Clan, which made the Feng Clan's old ancestor and the rest of the Feng Clan extremely angry and ashamed. Hu Yufei looked at Su Feng, and the corner of her lips curled up slightly. "Su Feng, this young master has to admit that you, the #1 genius of the Eastern Xian Divine region, do have some skills. However, even if you are made of iron, how many nails can you make by yourself? This young master also has no interest in continuing to watch. Shadow, kill him." "Yes, young master." A shadow flashed out from Hu Yufei's shadow, and it escaped into the void. Su Feng immediately became alert and used the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique to sense the aura of that expert from the Shadow Clan, who knew with a whoosh, a large shadow surged out from the void and instantly enveloped Su Feng and his surroundings. Su Feng fell into a world of shadows. "Buzz! Buzz!" Su Feng urged his wasp wing Xin Bao and tried to teleport out of the world of shadows, who knew that after a few teleportations, he was still trapped in the shadows, and it was difficult for him to escape. The Shadow Clan's expert's faintly discernible voice came from all directions. "Human genius, don't make any more pointless resistance. There is no Jiuquan heavenly law to protect you here. You're just a pig or a lamb for this seat to slaughter. In this seat's world, it's simply impossible for you, a mere Tao Lord cultivator, to escape." Back at the Feng Clan, that Shadow Clan expert had misgivings about Jiuquan heavenly law and had no choice but to suppress his cultivation to the height of Tao Profound Realm. Not only did he fail to kill Su Feng, he was instead injured by Su Feng's Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique, and primordial energy. However, it was different this time. The Shadow Clan expert no longer had any misgivings and unleashed his full power. The strength displayed was more than 100 times stronger than before. Su Fang's most powerful primordial energy was already exhausted. Currently trapped in the Shadow Clan expert's world, forget about injuring him. It was impossible to even want to escape from the world of shadows. Chi, chi, chi. One shadow after another flitted past Su Fang's back from the world. Each time, it would take away Su Fangda's life aura. That Shadow Clan expert clearly did not plan on killing Su Fang in one go, but tormented Su Fang to death like a cat toying with a mouse. Su Fang unleashed all sorts of divine powers to shatter the surrounding shadows, but they returned to normal immediately. The gap between him and the Shadow Clan expert was too great. It was not something that divine powers could make up for at all. After having his life aura devoured time and time again, Su Fang's aura became sluggish. The Feng clan's forefather praised and complimented Hu Yufei, young master who is mighty. The Feng clan can't do anything to Su Fang even with the entire clan's strength. Once young master Hu's expert strikes, he has no way of retaliating. Those who go against this young master will end up like this in the end. This young master has said before that the so-called Dongshuan's unrivaled genius is nothing in front of this young master. Hu Yufei smiled lightly. Zhan Xin closed his eyes and sighed in his heart. Dong Xianjun looked at the world of shadows. Although he could not see Su Fang's silhouette, his eyes were still filled with delight. Su Fang, even you have such a day? It was because of Su Fang that Dong Xianjun, the once high and mighty heaven pavilion genius, had lost his brilliance. Now that Su Fang was about to die, how could he not feel delighted? Feng Jinhua suddenly cupped his fist at Hu Yufei and said, "Young master, Su Fang is Dongshuan's unrivaled genius after all. Why not keep him alive and take him as a slave? If he serves young master in the future, he will definitely become a powerful expert under young master's command." Hu Yufei nodded and said, "This is a good idea. If I have a slave like Dongshuan's unrivaled genius under me, who in the central Xian divine region wouldn't look at me differently in the future?" "Young master Hu, you mustn't." The one who spoke up to stop Hu Yufei was Dong Xianjun. Hu Yufei raised his brows. "Why?" Dong Xianjun explained, "It's because Su Fang is Dongshuan's unrivaled genius that young master can't take him as a slave. Think about it. If Dongxian Daozu knows that young master has shackled Dongxian Divine Region's unrivaled genius, he will definitely go to the Hu people's forefather personally. By then, not only will Su Fang be lost, young master will also be punished by the Hu people's forefather." At the mention of the Hu people's forefather, fear shone in Hu Yufei's eyes. He was not afraid of anything, but it was impossible for him not to be afraid of the Hu people's forefather. Dong Xianjun continued, "The safest way is to kill Su Fang, of course, to eliminate all future troubles. By then, even if Dongxian Daozu finds the Hu people, Su Fang is already dead, and he can't do anything to the Hu people. It's a pity that I'll lose something to boast about when I go back." Hu Yufei felt a pang of regret. Feng Jinhua's brows furrowed. A strange gleam shone in his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Su Fang was trapped in the Shadow Realm, his life force constantly being taken away by the Shadow Tribe's experts. Although the sky-piercing blood vines were constantly devouring and replenishing his life force, the speed of recovery could not keep up with the speed of loss. "It looks like I can only use my last resort." With a flip of his right hand, a rune appeared in Su Fang's palm. It was the rune given by the Sage of Wine. The Wine Saint had given Su Fang a total of 3 rune talismans, and each rune talisman contained his powerful attack. Su Fang had used 2 of them before, and this was the last one. Just as he was about to activate the rune, whoosh, a golden fishhook suddenly pierced through the world of yin and yang. At one end of the fishhook, there was an invisible thread. It was unknown where it came from. That's Yu's Supreme Xian Bao, the Obsidian Soul fishing portrait. Seeing the golden fishhook, Su Fang's heart shook, his eyes filled with disbelief. What kind of Xian Bao is that? Where did such a powerful Xian Bao come from? The Shadow Tribe's expert exclaimed. His figure flashed out of the Shadow Realm, and then hid in the shadows again. Whoosh! The fishhook escaped into the void, chasing after the Shadow Tribe's expert. A moment later, the fishhook was retracted, but there was nothing on it. Obviously, the Shadow Tribe's expert had escaped. Then, the fishing line shook, and the fishhook retracted into the void, disappearing without a trace. The Shadow Realm also shattered, and Su Fong reappeared from the boundless Shadow Realm. You didn't leave the Feng clan, but hid in the Feng clan, waiting for an opportunity to take revenge. After not seeing him for so many years, his strength has become so shocking that he actually scared off the Shadow Tribe's expert. Su Fong was surprised and happy, and he absorbed the rune in his hand into the space inside his body. The sudden change made Hu Yufei, the Feng clan's old ancestor, and the others surprised and shocked. The Feng clan's old ancestor shouted in a deep voice, "Which expert is hiding in the Feng clan? Please show yourself." Hu Yufei shouted domineeringly, "I don't care who you are. How dare you meddle in my business? I will pull out your tendons and peel off your skin." Her voice was still echoing. The giant black tortoise suddenly moved. It swung its head, opened its mouth, and bit at Hu Yufei's carriage. Crack! A flood dragon in front of the carriage was bitten into two by the black tortoise, and the corpse was swallowed into its stomach. The other flood dragons were shocked, and they pulled the carriage away. Chapter 29:55. Roar. The black tortoise let out a furious roar. Once again, it swung its head and bit at the Feng clan's ancestor. The terrifying demonic wind roared like a huge black hole. Impossible! How is this possible? This black tortoise is a divine tortoise that has been reared by the Feng clan for countless eras. How is it possible for it to bite back at its master now? The Feng clan's ancestor did not expect the black tortoise to counterattack them all of a sudden. In his shock, he teleported away in a hurry. The three experts beside the Feng clan's ancestor were unlucky. They were swept by the black tortoise's demonic wind and swallowed into its stomach. The Feng clan's ancestor appeared tens of thousands of miles away. He turned around and looked at the Feng clan. His heart was filled with despair and anger. Then, he chased after Hu Yufei's carriage. How could such a thing happen? Could it be that Su Fong is not fated to die? Dong Xianjun's divine light changed instantly. Su Fong was not fated to die. The next one to die would be him. Immediately, he executed his movement skill and was about to escape. Suddenly, a divine power swept over and enveloped him. The divine power contained the power of time, causing Dong Xianjun's body to become as slow as a snail. Dong Xianjun revealed a look of disbelief. The one who attacked was Feng Jianhua. At the same time, a thought exploded with the divine power of space, forming a spatial whirlwind and crushing Dong Xianjun's head. Dong Xianjun died just like that. He did not expect that the one who killed him would be Feng Jianhua, who was respectful to him previously. The black tortoise has gone crazy. Run. The experts of the Feng clan did not expect that the black tortoise would attack the Feng clan's ancestor out of the blue. All of them were scared out of their wits and fled into the chaotic void. Who knew? The enchantment around the back of the black tortoise blocked the Feng clan's cultivators, leaving them with nowhere to run. Then, from the back of the black tortoise, a shocking gravitational force exploded and sucked the Feng clan's cultivators who were flying in the air to the ground. Some of them fell to their deaths on the spot. The entire Feng clan was in chaos as if doomsday had arrived. A black monster with the body of a divine dragon, but the head of a Qilin flew out from the black tortoise's mouth. Su Fong's eyes flashed with surprise. That black monster was the black dragon. On the back of the black dragon, a man in black stood with his hands behind his back. His black hair was fluttering in the wind. He was in high spirits and exuding a cold aura. Aura? Who else could it be but Mystery? Mystery looked at Su Fong and laughed loudly as he said, "Su Fong, brat, you also didn't expect that there would be a day where your life would be saved by this seat, right?" Mystery. Su Fong leaped into the air, was not slow, but he was not but he was, he, was that it? Su Fong asked in surprise, "Senior you, Why are you still staying in the Feng clan? How can I leave if the Feng clan is not destroyed? Mystery said coldly. He looked at the people of the Feng clan who were running around on the back of the black tortoise like ants on a hot pan. His eyes were full of killing intent. Su Fong asked again, then this black tortoise. What's the matter? After I came to the Feng clan, I found the corpse of the fairy mother. When I saw the message she left on the wall before she died, I wanted to destroy the Feng clan. But it was impossible for me to destroy the Feng clan with my strength. But I left without saying a word. I couldn't get rid of my anger. So, I hid in the Feng clan. Later on, I really couldn't think of a good way to exterminate the entire Feng clan. So, I had the idea of killing this old turtle. Su Fong couldn't help but shiver. Mystery's revenge was really vicious. Once the black tortoise was killed, the Feng clan would suffer a great loss even if it wasn't destroyed. However, since the Feng clan dared to live on the back of the black tortoise for so many years, it was obviously not easy to kill the black tortoise. Mystery continued. I didn't know that the old tortoise was so powerful. It just took a breath, and I was directly sucked into its belly. Su Fong was shocked and asked hurriedly, How did you get out of danger? Mystery smiled proudly and said, Do you remember the inheritance I got in the depths of the gloomy water abyss? You mean the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram of the Blackwater ancestor? Yes. Thanks to the Xianbao of the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram and your primary spirit mud to reconstruct my body. Otherwise, I couldn't have escaped death this time. After a moment of lingering fear, Mystery explained to Su Fong. It turned out that the black tortoise had been in a state of deep sleep. After sucking Mystery into its belly, it didn't take him seriously at all. It thought that it would digest him after a period of time. The black tortoise didn't expect that Mystery's body was reconstructed with the primary spirit mud. How could it digest him? Besides, Mystery also had the Xianbao of the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram. During these years, in the black tortoise's belly, Mystery continued to integrate the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram. At the same time, he used the power of the Xianbao to penetrate the origin soul of the black tortoise. The black tortoise had been in a state of deep sleep. Unknowingly, Mystery planted a soul seal seed in its soul. It was also a coincidence. Su Fong came to the Feng clan. The Feng clan tried to take the risk to kill Su Fong, so they woke up the black tortoise with the forbidden method and came here through the Xian Gate. When Su Fong was in danger, Mystery used the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram to help Su Fong resolve the danger. At the same time, he controlled the black tortoise to kill the cultivators of the Feng clan and shackle them. After listening to Mystery's experience, Su Fong couldn't help but sigh. At the same time, he was overjoyed by Mystery's good fortune. Mystery was also very proud. You brat, although your cultivation is higher than mine now, in terms of true strength, you still have to obediently submit to me. I can finally hold my head high in front of you again. Master, Feng Jinhua brought the half-dead Feng Han and flew across the sky. Feng Han. Mystery's eyes were burning with anger. Just as he was about to kill Feng Han, Su Fong stopped him. Senior Mystery, let's leave Feng Han to the Heavenly Maiden. Heavenly Maiden? The Heavenly Maiden has been resurrected? Mystery was surprised and delighted. Su Fong roughly told Mystery about Heavenly Maiden Luo's resurrection. Mystery looked at Su Fong and nodded. You brat, you still have some conscience. You've finally resurrected the Heavenly Maiden. Now I can rest assured. It's not that easy to nurture a Heavenly Tao core. Looks like you've been doing well these years. Hearing Mystery's words, Feng Jinhua said, Senior, you probably don't know yet. Master is now the #1 genius of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. Even if you use the Xianbao, I'm afraid it will still be difficult for you to surpass Master. Mystery was very surprised. He stared at Su Fong and said in shock, the #1 genius of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. Feng Jinhua, don't talk too much. Su Fong's face darkened. Then he sucked Feng Jinhua and Feng Han into the Tao Palace and sealed them inside. Under Mystery's constant questioning, Su Fong had no choice but to tell Mystery everything that had happened in these years. Mystery's expression became very interesting. Brat, you're still the best. The #1 genius of the Eastern profound divine realm. Forget it. I can't be bothered to compete with you anymore. Competing with you is purely asking for trouble. The more Mystery spoke, the more depressed he became. He took out the Blackwater Soul fishing portrait. After activating it, the old man fishing in the cold river in the portrait raised his fishing rod. A golden hook with a transparent fishing line flew out of the portrait and landed on the back of the black tortoise. When the fishing line was retracted, the image of a woman was hanging on the hook. This woman is Feng Han's wife. Back then, Lady Luotian was defiled by that bastard Feng Han. When this ruthless bitch found out, she wantonly tortured Lady Luotian's mother until she died. Mystery's eyes were filled with murderous intent. With a shake of the fishing line, the woman's soul let out a series of miserable shrieks and was sucked into the portrait and transferred to you. The old man in the portrait shook his fishing rod, and the woman's soul flew into the fish basket beside him. These Feng clansmen all deserve to die. Mystery showed his ruthless side and transmitted his thoughts to the black tortoise. The black tortoise turned its head and sucked fiercely. Tens of thousands of Feng clansmen were sucked into the black tortoise's stomach. Only some low-level cultivators and many ordinary people were still on the black tortoise's back. They were terrified as if doomsday was coming. The remaining Feng clansmen will be slaves for generations to atone for their sins. Mystery said coldly. He used to be the Lord of 9 serenities in the Pan-Song universe. He had always been unscrupulous and unruly. It was already quite merciful that he didn't kill all the Feng clansmen. And that old ancestor of the Feng clan, he also deserves to die. Mystery looked at the low-level universe in the distant void, and his murderous intent didn't diminish. The old ancestor of the Feng clan and Hu Yufei didn't escape far away. They escaped into the low-level universe. Obviously, they wanted to use the last foundation of the Feng clan to make a last stand. The old ancestor of the Feng clan and that Hu Yufei, none of them can escape. Su Feng revealed a domineering smile. His eyes were burning with murderous intent. In the low-level universe. Trash, all of you are incompetent. You can't even kill a lowly existence from the low-level universe. Hu Yufei shouted angrily, venting the anger in her heart on the Shadow Clan's expert. Then, she shifted her anger to the old ancestor of the Feng clan. In your Feng clan, Su Feng is about to be killed. Where did this peerless expert come from? Why did that black tortoise suddenly attack me? The old ancestor of the Feng clan trembled. This time, not only did he fail to kill Su Feng, but the Feng clan was almost annihilated. They were not far from being exterminated. If he offended this young master of the Hu people completely, then he and the Feng clan would be at the end of their rope. Young Master Hu, please calm down. I don't know what happened. I also don't know where the expert who suddenly attacked came from. The old ancestor of the Feng clan quickly bowed to Hu Yufei. Chapter 2956. Hu Yufei's expression turned slightly better. Then this young master will stay in this low-level universe and see how you kill that Su Feng. If there's any mishap, this young master will leave immediately. I don't care if you're dead or alive. The Feng clan's ancestor quickly said, Young master, don't worry. This time it's a sure thing. I won't let young master Hu down. Zhan Shun, who was behind Hu Yufei, curled his lips into a sneer, scoffing at the Feng clan's ancestor's words. From Hu Yufei's shadow, the Shadow Clan's expert's faint voice suddenly sounded. How can this low-level universe stop Su Feng, let alone kill him? Young master's identity is honorable. It's not worth it to stay here and take the risk. It's better to leave quickly and head to Stalwart Star City, returning to Central Mystic Divine Region. Hu Yufei looked at the Feng clan's ancestor, her gaze chilling. The Feng clan's ancestor quickly said, This Shadow Clan's lord doesn't know yet. My clan's expert has obtained a treasure a few years ago. This one has full confidence that he can use this treasure to kill Su Feng and that expert of unknown origin. Treasure? Hu Yufei's interest was piqued. What treasure is it? Let this young master see. The Shadow Clan's expert said coldly. If you have this treasure, Why would you wait until now? Why would you betray Dongxian and rely on young Master Hu? Lord doesn't know. That treasure belongs to Feng Li Universe's heavenly lord, who is also an upper Dao profound realm expert of my Feng clan. He accidentally obtained it over 2,000 years ago. That treasure is indeed peculiar. It has merged with Feng Li Universe, and Heavenly Lord Feng Li is at the crucial moment of merging with this treasure. Therefore, it's difficult to move it in the Heaven's Path avatar. That's why he didn't use it to deal with Su Feng. However, this one uses my life and the entire Feng clan to guarantee that as long as Su Feng is lured into Feng Li Universe, this treasure can be used to kill him. The Feng clan's ancestor said solemnly. The Shadow clan's expert snorted, but did not expose the Feng clan's ancestor. Since the Feng clan had such a treasure, they would definitely not be willing to take it out easily. If Hu Yufei took a fancy to it, the Feng clan's treasure would naturally be hard to keep. Now that the old ancestor of the Feng clan took it out, it was clear that he had no other choice. Hearing that there was a powerful treasure, Hu Yufei's eyes flashed with a bright light, and he said impatiently, "What kind of treasure is it? This young lord wants to see it for himself." Yes. The ancestor of the Feng clan brought Hu Yufei and many of his subordinates and teleported to the depths of the Dao Sea in the Feng Li universe. In the deepest part of the Sea of the Path, a huge blood cocoon was floating. The blood cocoon was formed by entangling and condensing strands of blood. Something seemed to be brewing within the blood cocoon, emitting an astonishing aura of life. He sensed it carefully. The blood cocoon kept releasing an extremely mysterious sound of nothingness, causing the entire Sea of the Path to resonate with it. That Shadow Clan expert let out an astonished voice from Hu Yufei's shadow. That is, the voice of the heavenly Dao. What kind of treasure is that, to be able to emit the sound of the heavenly Dao? Zhan Chun and Hu Yufei's subordinates were also shocked and surprised. The so-called voice of the heavenly Dao was not the voice of the heavenly Dao. Instead, it was this supreme treasure that could cause the heavenly Dao to resonate and emit a vibrating sound that coincided with the heavenly Dao. A treasure that could cause the heavenly Dao to resonate. How powerful was it? It was absolutely not what an artifact refiner could refine. It could only be born from the chaos after a long period of nurturing. Even the most powerful king-grade Xianbao also found it hard to possess such ability. Seeing everyone's shocked appearance, Emperor Feng Li revealed a smug look. Following that, he shouted towards the depths of the Sea of the Path. "Feng Li, quickly come out and pay respects to Mr. Hu." Hu, a figure flashed out from the nothingness. Feng Li pays respect to Mr. Hu. That was a middle-aged man. He was precisely the Feng Li Universe's Emperor. This person was also a powerful powerhouse of the Feng clan, in the same era as the Feng clan's ancestor. His cultivation reached the upper stage of Dao profound realm. In the Feng clan, his cultivation was also second only to the Feng clan's ancestor. Mr. Hu waved his hand. "Feng Li, you tell this young master, what kind of treasure is this?" Feng Li cupped his fists and said, "This treasure was accidentally obtained when this lowly one was traveling the chaos more than 2,000 years ago. This lowly one also doesn't know what kind of treasure it is. However, after these few years of pondering, I figured out some knack and obtained considerable good fortune." Mr. Hu asked, "What's the magical effect of this blood cocoon?" This object was placed in the Sea of the Path and merged with it. Then it began to emit this wonderful sound of Heaven Way. Even if I didn't cultivate it, the Heavenly Way Dharma body would naturally resonate with it and obtain the profound meaning of Heaven Way from it. Not only my Heavenly Way Dharma body, but my realm also improved a lot. What's more amazing is that due to the integration of this treasure with the Sea of the Path, all the cultivators in the Feng Li Universe's cultivation talent and speed of improvement have also increased by 10 times compared to before. In just 1,000 years, there have already been more than 500 transcendents and tens of thousands of other Dao masters. Hu Yufei didn't think much of it. In her eyes, except for Dao Zhu, everyone else was a nonentity. Naturally, She wouldn't take these benefits that the blood cocoon brought to the Feng clan seriously. However, the Shadow Clan powerhouse exclaimed, appearing to be extremely shocked. Zhan Chun and Hu Yufei's subordinates were also hale and hearty, as if they had seen a peerless treasure. In just 2,000 years, the sound of heaven wei emitted by the blood cocoon alone had caused such amazing changes in a low-level universe. If another million years or an era passed, how amazing would the result be? The cultivators in the Jiushuan God realm cultivated with the help of this heart. Even if they didn't improve as fast as those in the low-level universe, it would be extremely amazing. How could these cultivators not be shocked and excited? Hu People's cultivators looked at the blood cocoon with undisguised jealousy and greed in their deep eyes. Celestial Master Feng Li saw through their thoughts and said, I originally planned to give this treasure to the ancestor. Unexpectedly, after I nurtured it in the Sea of the Path, I found that the aura of the blood cocoon had merged with the Sea of the Path and even the entire Feng Li universe. I wanted to give it to the ancestor, but I couldn't, and no one else could take it away. Is there such a strange thing? Some Hu People's cultivators were greatly disappointed and temporarily dismissed the idea in their hearts. However, some people didn't believe it at all and were still secretly eyeing the blood cocoon. Hu Yufei was uninterested and said dully, What's the point of breaking the blood cocoon like this? The ancestor of the Feng clan couldn't help but smile bitterly. In the eyes of this idiot, the value of this unparalleled treasure was probably not even comparable to a beautiful young girl. The Shadow Clan elite spoke again. You all plan to use this blood cocoon to kill Su Feng? Could it be that this blood cocoon also has the ability to attack? Celestial Master Feng Li said respectfully, replying to my lord, all these years, I've been using the heavenly wei Dharma body to merge with this treasure. With the help of the power of heaven wei in the Feng Li universe, I'm barely able to control the sound of heaven wei released by the blood cocoon to form an unparalleled, powerful sound wave attack. It's invincible, and no ability or will can stop it. After a pause, Celestial Master Feng Li revealed a proud expression. As long as Su Feng enters the Feng Li universe, I'll ask for your cooperation. Even if his strength surpasses Dao Profound, I'm confident that I can kill him. It's best that no more accidents happen. If young master who is frightened again, not only you, but your entire Feng clan can forget about surviving. That Shadow Clan elite let out a cold snort and no longer spoke. The ancestor of the Feng clan said, Young Master Hu, please come to the Celestial Master Palace to rest for a while. Watch how I kill Su Feng. Following which, the ancestor of the Feng clan brought Hu Yufei and many subordinates to the palace in the depths of the Feng Li universe's Dao Sea. After settling Hu Yufei and the rest down, the ancestor of the Feng clan came to the vicinity of the blood cocoon again. Celestial Master Feng Li sighed and said, Ancestor, even if we kill Su Feng this time, I'm afraid it's hard to protect this unparalleled treasure. The ancestor of the Feng clan said in a deep voice, Feng Li, if we don't kill Su Feng this time, there will be no place for our clan in the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. Young Master, who will also not protect our clan. Sooner or later, our clan will be completely exterminated. You should be clear about which is more important. If that young master who or his subordinates ask for it, what should we do? Feng Li, is the life of the Feng clan and yours more important? Or is the treasure more important? Forget it. We can only do so. Celestial Master Feng Li agreed helplessly. After hesitating for a moment, Celestial Master Feng Li continued, Ancestor, I recently discovered that there seems to be a powerful life being nurtured in the blood cocoon. Moreover, I can faintly sense that it is difficult to control it with the heavenly Tao celestial body. There is such a thing, but it doesn't matter. Su Feng will arrive soon. As long as we can kill him, we can talk about other things later. Asterisk, 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 the huge black tortoise of the Feng clan, carrying Su Feng and Mystery, appeared outside the Feng Li universe. As for the cultivators and mortals of the Feng clan, Mystery was too lazy to care about them for the time being. He only sealed them on the back of the black tortoise. After killing the ancestor of the Feng clan, he would slowly deal with these people of the Feng clan. Su Feng, you don't have to do anything this time. Just look at me. Mystery said domineeringly. He urged the black tortoise and directly charged towards the barrier of the Feng universe. Su Feng smiled and secretly took out the last rune talisman given by the wine sage. The ancestor of the Feng clan and other Hu people cultivators were nothing to be afraid of. However, Su Feng had to be wary of the Shadow Clan powerhouse. Even Mystery could hardly do anything to the Shadow Clan powerhouse when he used the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram. Moreover, Hu Yufei's identity was extraordinary. She might have other life-saving means. Su Feng was not without reliance. The rune talisman of the wine sage was one of his trump cards. Rumble. The black tortoise tyrannically and overbearingly broke through the barrier of the Fengli universe and killed its way into the inner universe. The black tortoise's other abilities were not very outstanding. In addition to its rough skin and strong defense, it could eat and sleep and had a long lifespan. Looking intently, this low-level universe was very vast. It was 10 times larger than the Pansong universe and was of a higher level. There were countless living beings in the universe. Su Feng sensed the heavenly Tao of the Fengli universe. Although it was of a higher level than the Pansong universe, it still belonged to the category of the heavenly Tao of the low-level universe. It could not pose any threat to him at all. Mystery urged the black tortoise to fly straight to the Tao Sea of the entire universe. Because the black tortoise's aura was too terrifying, it was far beyond the low-level universe. Wherever it went, it caused the surrounding space to constantly collapse, causing a huge commotion. Suddenly, Chapter 29:57. While the voice of the Feng clan's patriarch was still echoing, divine light flashed, and the figures of the Feng clan's patriarch and celestial master Feng Li appeared in front of the black tortoise, blocking its path. Immediately after, Hu Yufei's luxurious carriage also appeared in the distance. Su Feng, you are really arrogant. How dare you chase us to the Feng Li universe? The Feng clan's patriarch shouted gloomily. Then his gaze fell on Mystery, and he couldn't help but be stunned when he found that Mystery's cultivation was only at the upper Tao Lord realm. Then he asked sternly, Who are you? Why are you helping Su Feng and ruining my Feng clan's plans? What method did you use to make my clan's guardian tortoise listen to you? Su Feng and Mystery flew out from the back of the black tortoise. Mystery said coldly, I'm the one who will destroy your Feng clan. A mere Tao Lord Cultivator dares to boast so shamelessly and say that you will destroy my Feng clan? The Feng clan's patriarch sneered. Then he said murderously, If the two of you ran away directly, I can't do anything to you. Now that you have taken the initiative to die, you can all stay here. Feng Li killed them. As soon as the Feng clan's patriarch's voice fell, Celestial Master Feng Li suddenly waved his arm. Dong! 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 From the depths of the Tao Sea, a rumbling sound that could only be heard by the primordial spirit suddenly came. The sound instantly spread throughout the entire Feng Li universe, causing the low-level heavenly Tao laws of the Feng Li universe to immediately undergo a wonderful change and become more advanced. As the sound reverberated, a layer of incomparably powerful boundary merged with the barrier of the Feng Li universe, enveloping the entire Feng Li universe. Not only was the boundary vast and boundless, but it was also incomparably powerful. Su Feng estimated that it would be very difficult for the Shadow Clan's powerhouse to break through the boundary. Mystery's divine light changed slightly. What kind of Xianbao is that? How can it release the astonishing divine power of the heavenly Tao? Why is this voice so familiar? The voice that sounded like the voice of the heavenly Tao made Su Feng's eyebrows furrow as a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. The old ancestor of the Feng clan gritted his teeth and shouted coldly, Su Feng and that scoundrel who doesn't even dare to speak his name. You have killed so many of my Feng clan's people. This time, I will make you wish you were dead. At this time, Hu Yufei's voice came from the carriage. Don't let them die too quickly. Otherwise, This young master won't have any fun. Yes. Empyrean Feng Li cupped his fists towards Yufei. Then, with a thought, he activated the blood cocoon again and released the sound of the Way of the Heavens. It merged with the power of the Way of the Heavens of the Feng Li universe and swept towards Su Feng. I don't care what treasure it is. Is it more powerful than my Blackwater soul fishing diagram? Yu smiled domineeringly. With a flip of his right hand, he took out a scroll. It was the Blackwater soul fishing portrait. The scroll quickly unfolded, revealing the scene of an old man fishing alone in the cold river. You pointed at the old ancestor of the Feng clan. The old man in the scroll waved his fishing rod, and the golden hook with the transparent fishing line went straight for the old ancestor of the Feng clan. Overestimating your capabilities. Empyrean Feng Li sneered in disdain. He controlled a formless sound wave and bombarded the fishing hook. The sound of the Way of the Heavens contained a shocking vibration power that could disintegrate any energy and will. After a collision, the light of the fishing hook dimmed in an instant. Cracks appeared on it. Together with the fishing line, it was like a kite dancing in the wind as it was jolted back into the scroll. The figure of the old man in the scroll trembled and immediately became much more illusory. Yushun's expression changed instantly. What kind of Xianbao is that? It can actually suppress my Blackwater soul fishing diagram? That is the sound of the Way of the Heavens. Let's go quickly. Su Feng's heart was in turmoil. He had already guessed the origin of the voice of the heavenly Tao. Before the second wave of heavenly Tao voice came, Su Feng immediately used my lord's 10-direction seal, forming a powerful defensive barrier in front of him in mystery. Dong! Another sound of the heavenly path rang out, and the sound waves came crashing onto the barrier. Boom! The barrier only lasted for an instant before shattering. However, the impact of the sound wave had been mostly dissipated. Su Feng and Mystery were sent flying by the shock wave, and they both spat out a mouthful of blood. Su Feng was slightly better off, but Mystery had fallen into a heavily injured state. If it wasn't for Su Feng blocking the majority of the impact of the heavenly Tao sound for him, he would have died. Amazing! What a great treasure! Hu Yufei cheered loudly. Zhan Shun and the other Hu people cultivators were also extremely shocked. If this attack had been directed at them, they would have been directly shattered into pieces and would not have been able to fight back. Buzz! Su Feng activated his B-Wings Xian Bao and used a divine might to envelop Mystery, and he teleported to the back of the Black Tortoise. Black Tortoise, defend with all your strength. Mystery immediately transmitted his thoughts to the Black Tortoise. Now, they could only rely on the Black Tortoise's barrier to defend. In addition, Mystery also placed his hopes on the Feng clan's people on the Black Tortoise's back, hoping that the Feng clan's old ancestor would have some scruples. Old ancestor, heavenly venerable Feng Li was indeed hesitating. That Black Tortoise was the Feng clan's guardian divine beast, and there were countless Feng clan members on its back. He had to be cautious. The Feng clan's old ancestor hesitated for a moment, and his eyes flashed with ruthlessness and decisiveness. He shouted in a deep voice, "As long as this ancestor and you are still alive, the Feng clan will still exist. There is no need to worry about anything. Make your move." He was actually so ruthless. In order to kill Su Feng, he did not care about the lives of so many Feng clan members. Dong! 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 Heavenly venerable Feng Li gritted his teeth, and the heavenly Tao sound exploded again and again, crashing onto the barrier outside the Black Tortoise. Rumble! The Black Tortoise's huge body was constantly trembling, and the barrier outside was also constantly shattering. Although the Black Tortoise's barrier was powerful, it was still unable to withstand the impact of the heavenly Tao sound in the end, and the barrier completely collapsed. The heavenly Tao sound was like a stormy sea, crashing directly onto the Black Tortoise's body. Su Feng kept Mystery into his Tao palace, and once again activated my master's 10-direction seal. At the same time, he also pushed the blood armor's defense to the extreme. Puff! Su Feng successfully resolved this attack, but once again spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura immediately became dispirited. The black tortoise's powerful body also showed signs of shattering. The mountain on its back collapsed, and the earth shattered. Like a gust of wind sweeping past, those Foam Clan mortals living on the black tortoise's back instantly turned into ashes. Those Foam Clan cultivators only lasted for a moment, and immediately, like those mortals, they all turned into powder. The black tortoise let out a miserable cry, turned around, and fled toward the barrier of the Foamly universe. Who knew that the barrier was so powerful that the black tortoise's consecutive collisions only caused the barrier to tremble, but it could not break through the barrier? Su Fong, this time, let's see who can save you. The Foam Clan's patriarch looked at Su Fong, his eyes filled with incomparable joy. Hu Yufei clapped her hands and said with a smile, "Not bad. This treasure is not bad. After killing that ant, give that treasure to this young master to play with." Dongxuan's #1 genius has died, just like that. Zhang Xin shook his head helplessly and looked at Su Fong. A feeling of sympathy for the fellow sufferer surged in his heart. "Su Fong, this reputed one wants to use your life to be buried with my people." Fengli Celestial Lord let out a thunderous roar. Boom! The universe trembled, and the heavenly Tao rumbled. Jiuxuan's Wuji scripture. At the critical moment, Su Fong executed the Jiuxuan's Wuji scripture. In the Jiuxuan Tao Palace, a chaotic whirlpool rolled, and thoughts quickly condensed into form. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A total of 3,000 thoughts exploded, forming a chaotic domain that enveloped Su Fong and his surroundings. He actually planned to use the Jiuxuan's Wuji scripture to control the voice of the heavenly Tao. The voice of the heavenly Tao swept over, crashing into the chaotic domain around Su Fong. Boom, boom, boom. It felt like a violent and domineering torrent that crashed into the sea. The sea was boiling crazily, and the ferocious torrent quickly merged into the sea, finally becoming a part of it. This is impossible. How is this possible? Fengli Celestial Lord and the Foam Clan's patriarch exclaimed in shock. Hu Yufei, Zhang Shun, and the rest were also surprised and shocked. The Jiuxuan's Wuji scripture that Su Fong cultivated was a type of supreme heavenly Tao. The voice of the heavenly Tao was the sound of the life in the blood cocoon resonating with the heavenly Tao. Su Fong integrated the voice of the heavenly Tao through the Jiuxuan's Wuji scripture. The reason why he was able to succeed was also because Su Fong had the experience of resonating with the heavenly Tao with the Jiuxuan's Wuji scripture before. And the voice of the heavenly Tao released by the blood cocoon was exactly the same as what Su Fong had experienced before. Hence, that was why Su Fong could integrate it so easily, completely neutralizing the attack this time. It's a coincidence this time. It must be a coincidence. Fengli Celestial could not believe it no matter what. He once again deployed the heavenly Tao power of the blood cocoon and Fengli universe, releasing that supreme voice of the heavenly Tao. Coincidence? Su Fong revealed a domineering smile, opened his mouth and blew out a gust of air, landing into the surrounding chaotic region. The voice of the heavenly Tao that swept over like a tide rushed into the chaotic region. Like the last time, it was rapidly integrated. The next moment, boom! The voice of the heavenly Tao that was even more majestic than before directly rolled back, crashing into Fengli Celestial's body. Fengli Celestial let out a shrill scream. His body was shattered into pieces, and he died on the spot. The Foam Clan's ancestor was also affected. Under the impact of the heavenly Tao voice's aftermath, he was blasted several tens of thousands of miles away. His physical body was shattered, and he spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood in a row, falling into a heavily injured state. Su Fong's face did not have a trace of joy. Instead, his eyes revealed incomparable solemnity, full of vigilance. Damn Foam Clan, to actually let Su Fong turn the tables again. Hu Yufei shouted in dissatisfaction. That Shadow Clan's expert let out a voice. Young master, that Su Fong has all kinds of extraordinary abilities. Furthermore, his luck is astonishing. Every time he encounters danger, He can turn misfortune into fortune. Such a character, either be friends with him or keep a respectful distance. It's best not to provoke him. Otherwise, it will be a big trouble in the future, Hu Yufei sneered domineeringly. No matter how extraordinary he is, can he compare to this young master? This young master is the only son of Hu people's patriarch. This is the great luck that this young master was born with. How can that lowly ant be compared to it? Soon after, he shouted arrogantly, "Since this young master does not want to be friends with that Su Fong, I will also not keep a respectful distance from an ant. Directly kill him, and naturally, there will be no more trouble. Shadow, go and kill him. If he is alive, you'll have to die." "Understood, young master Hu." From the shadow behind Hu Yufei, a shadow flashed, and then quickly escaped into the void. Su Fong took out the Wine Saint's rune talisman and executed the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to sense the aura of that Shadow Clan's expert. Whoosh, a shadow surged out from the void and instantly engulfed Su Fong from all directions, quickly enveloping him. "Su Fong, this time, no one will save you anymore. Prepare to die." From the shadow world, a blurry black figure flashed out. After a flash, it quickly attacked Su Fong. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just as Su Fong was about to activate the rune talisman, the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique suddenly flashed out from the Joshuan Dao Palace. Su Fong's heart suddenly sank. It really is him. This human is mine. "You, a junior from the Shadow Clan, dare to compete with me?" A voice came from the void. Chapter 2958. Sky-piercing Blood King Vine. The black shadow on the blood vine kept shrinking and struggling, letting out a terrified voice. That expert from the Shadow Clan was originally from a foreign race. He had an instinctive fear towards the sky-piercing Blood King Vine. Moreover, the innate ability of the Shadow Clan was useless in front of the sky-piercing Blood King Vine. This expert from the Shadow Clan, who had a powerful and strange ability, was easily suppressed by the sky-piercing Blood King Vine. Sizzle, the blood vine crazily devoured the aura of the black shadow, causing it to shrink and become more and more illusory. In the end, it was completely devoured. The shadow world quickly shattered. An extremely powerful Shadow Clan powerhouse was easily annihilated just like this. Sky-piercing Blood King Vine. That blood vine turned into wisps of blood and wriggled, quickly turning into a woman. That woman was wearing a black robe and was only 17 years old. She had a flawless face, delicate and beautiful, with a head full of strange blood-red hair. It was the mother body of the sky-piercing Blood King Vine. When Su Fong sensed the voice of the heavenly Tao, he began to suspect that it came from the heart of the foreign race expert, Slayer. Slayer's heart was stolen by the sky-piercing Blood King Vine, and its whereabouts were unknown. Now that the heart appeared in this Fongli universe, the mother body of the sky-piercing Blood King Vine must be here as well. His previous speculation was verified, and it made Su Fong's heart sink. Sky-piercing Blood King Vine. That's really the sky-piercing Blood King Vine. Young master, quickly leave. Zhan Shun and the other cultivators from the Hu people were aghast, and they hurriedly urged Hu Yufei. Who knew? Hu Yufei was staring at the mother body of the sky-piercing Blood King Vine, as though her soul had left her body. She didn't have any intention to escape. That expert from the Shadow Clan was killed, but she didn't care at all. The woman transformed from the mother body of the sky-piercing Blood King Vine looked at Su Fong as though she was looking at a prey caught in a net. There was a hint of complacency and incomparable pleasure. "I didn't expect that we would meet again." Su Fong revealed a bitter smile. This time, he was really unlucky. He actually bumped into the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's main body again. Su Fong had swallowed one of the mother's seeds, destroyed the realm-crossing mystic gate in ancient Blue City, stopped the foreign tribes from invading Dongxian, and even severely injured the mother. The mother had long hated him to the core. This time, the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother would definitely not let him go. Moreover, the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother body seemed to have recovered quite a bit. Although it was not at its peak state, Su Fong reckoned that even the Wine Sage's rune would have a hard time dealing with it. As he stalled for time with the main body, he secretly communicated with Shi Xian Daozu. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's main body was not something he could defeat. He could only ask Shi Xian Daozu to act personally. Shi Xian Daozu spoke from inside his body. You really want to use up one chance? It doesn't seem like we're at the end of our rope yet. Su Fong was startled and immediately began to think. The crimson-haired lady snorted. It looks like you know that you can't escape death and plan to give up. Su Fong asked in surprise, how did you escape Dongxian Daozu's pursuit? The lady sneered. If Dongxian Daozu himself came, I could only surrender. What could a mere thought do to me? I used a little trick, sacrificing a blood vine to transform into a clone and easily deceived Dongxian Daozu. Then, I took the opportunity to escape from the Blood Valley. Amazing. Even an expert like Daozu can't catch you. Su Fong was deeply shocked. Then why did you escape to this low-level universe? You don't look as relaxed as you said. You must have been severely injured by Dongxian Daozu and had to escape here to recuperate. Su Fong was stalling for time while performing the sky spill mystery solution to continuously deduce, looking for the opportunity that Shi Xian Daozu mentioned. Humph! An ancient blue city. If it weren't for you, a puny and despicable human, who used that Saint Dharma body and Jiuxuan Heaven's law to injure me, Dongxian Daozu couldn't do anything to me. The reason why I came to this low-level universe was not that I wanted to come, but that the celestial master of this low-level universe was too stupid. Su Fong asked in confusion, why is that? I sealed myself in the depths of the chaos, turned into a blood cocoon, and swallowed Slaughter's heart to recover from my injuries. At the same time, I merged with that heart, but Celestial Master Feng Li accidentally bumped into me and brought me here. It's funny that Celestial Master Feng Li actually treated me as a peerless treasure and placed me in this low-level Dao Sea, vainly trying to use this low-level universe to merge with me. I just happened to need nutrients to recover, so I took the opportunity to slowly swallow this low-level universe. I didn't expect you to take the initiative to send yourself to me. The crimson-haired lady said tirelessly. She could obviously see that Su Fong was stalling for time, but with her strength, she didn't care at all. Hearing the crimson-haired lady's words, the Fong clan's old ancestor felt as though he had fallen into an ice cave, and even his soul was emitting a chill. Celestial Master Feng Li thought that he had obtained a supreme fortune, but in the end, he picked up a malefic star. What kind of terrifying existence was the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine? The funny thing was that Celestial Master Feng Li still intended to merge with it. Zhan Chun and the other Hu People's experts were trembling with fear at this moment, and their hearts were filled with despair. However, if a Yufei didn't leave, they didn't dare to flee for their lives. Besides, they couldn't escape even if they wanted to. Only that Hu Yufei, unknown whether she was ignorant and fearless, or she really had something to rely on, not only was there no fear on her face, but she was also looking at the woman transformed from the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine with interest. After Su Fong secretly deduced with the Heaven's Derivation mysterious solution, his deep eyes flashed as he looked at Hu Yufei. The result of the Heaven's Derivation mysterious solution was that the hope of escaping this time was actually on that Hu Yufei. That Hu Yufei is the only son of the Middle Profound Hu People's clan head. Her identity is extraordinary. How could she only have that expert from the Shadow Clan as her bodyguard when she came to the Eastern Xian Divine Domain this time? That Hu Yufei either has a formidable life-saving method or a formidable expert by her side. Su Fong was very happy in his heart. However, he didn't dare to show it on his face and maintained his calm. He looked at that lady and said, "You want to kill me, and that young master who also wants my life. It's a pity that I only have one life. Who should I give it to?" The crimson-haired lady saw through Su Fong's thoughts and snorted disdainfully. "Are you trying to instigate this great one to kill your enemy? They're just insignificant humans like ants. I'll just devour them directly. However, before I devour them, this great one will first suppress you. You humans are too sinister and despicable. This great one is very uneasy." Su Fong's heart sank. He didn't expect the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother to not fall for his trick. Suddenly, Hu Yufei suddenly said, "Hey, foreign beauty, this young master thinks that you have a special charm. Why don't you follow this young master? As long as you serve this young master well, I guarantee that you will enjoy endless glory and wealth in the future." Su Fong, Zhan Shun, and the other Hu people's cultivators were all dumbfounded. Some young masters from powerful factions treated foreign races as slaves or even as tools to vent their desires. This wasn't strange at all. However, this lady in front of them was the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine that struck fear into the hearts of the human race. She was one of the top life forms among the foreign races. The lustful Hu Yufei actually had designs on the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine. It was truly shocking that he didn't know what was good for him. Even Su Fong couldn't help but admire that idiot. He reckoned that there was no one else in the entire Jioshuan divine domain who could be so ignorant. You want this great one to follow you? All right. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine was stunned for a moment before laughing loudly. Its figure flashed, and it instantly teleported to the carriage. Chi, chi, chi. Wherever the lady passed, the blood and vitality of the flood dragons were instantly devoured, turning them into dried corpses. The powerful defense around the chariot was useless against the woman. She leaped over it with a single leap. Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief. It was all thanks to that idiot Hu Yufei. Young master, be careful. Zhan Shun and the other Hu people's cultivators pounced towards the lady. Chi, chi, chi. The lady's blood-red hair suddenly shot out and transformed into blood-red vines. They pierced through the bodies of the Hu people's cultivators and instantly devoured their blood and vitality. Clang! The blood-red vine that shot toward Zhanshan was blocked by a crescent-shaped Xian Bao that Zhanshan released. The Xian Bao was sent flying. Zhanshan was also sent flying by the aftershock. However, he managed to preserve his life. You little human race are quite capable. The lady nodded at Zhanshan. Her blood-red hair fluttered as she shot toward Zhanshan and Hu Yufei again. Chi! A ball of silver-white Xian Guang flashed out from Hu Yufei's body and instantly transformed into a silver-white figure in front of her. The figure punched out, causing a silver radiance to sweep over. The blood-red vines that were formed by the lady's blood-red hair actually burned when they touched the silver radiance, turning into wisps of black smoke. There is indeed a peerless expert hidden by Hu Yufei's side. No, that's not a peerless expert. It's a puppet. Su Fong focused his gaze and was instantly shocked. The figure in front of Hu Yufei looked like a normal person. However, its skin was silver white, and there was silver white Xian Guang flowing continuously. It looked as if it was made of mercury. The puppet's aura also had life aura. Its strength was actually at the level of Supreme, Venerable Spring, Autumn, and First Elder Changsun of the three Supreme Mysterious Sects. Moreover, the attacks of the Mercury puppet contained lethal poison. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine itself had lethal poison. However, it was still unable to resist the poison of the Mercury puppet. It could be seen how lethal the poison was. At this moment, the Shi Xian Daozu spoke from within his body. That's the Xian Guang refined by Daozu of the Hu people. It's called the Mercury Spirit. That Hu people brat cultivated it into a Dharma body. It's a pity that Brat's strength is too weak. It's already very good that he can unleash 1/10 of the Mercury Spirit's power. Moreover, he can't use it for too long. Otherwise, the Mercury Spirit would be even more powerful than the 6 Extreme Dao Saint. With the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's current state, it wouldn't be able to defeat the Mercury Spirit. Mercury Spirit? It's so powerful. Su Fong sucked in a cold breath. As expected of the only son of the Hu people's clan leader, he actually had a powerful puppet refined by Daozu himself. This was the difference between those cultivators with extraordinary identities and those with humble origins like Su Fong. Those disciples with noble identities were born with things that humble cultivators would never be able to obtain even if they work hard their entire lives. No wonder you are so arrogant and even want to possess me. It's because you have such a powerful treasure. It's a pity that you, a human, are too weak. This treasure will really be tarnished if it falls into your hands." The blood-haired woman was shocked at first. Then, she sneered disdainfully. Chapter 29:59. Whoosh, the mercury puppet's body suddenly collapsed and turned into mercury that swept towards the woman. The silver radiance contained a shocking amount of poison that erupted like a flash flood. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's strength had not fully recovered, and it was only a clone. Facing the mercury spirit's attack, it did not dare to be careless. It immediately teleported out of the carriage and appeared in the void. The mercury spirit turned back into a human form and continued to attack the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine with a flash of silver light. Chi! Chi! The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's main body flung her blood-red hair, and rays of blood-red light shot out. They instantly turned into blood-red vines that intertwined to form a world and shackled the mercury spirit within. Boom! The mercury spirit suddenly exploded, turning into waves of silver-white sword chi that shot out in all directions. At the same time, the explosion released a shocking amount of poison gas that quickly spread out. The huge impact of the explosion was comparable to the all-out attack of peerless experts like Supreme Venerable Spring Autumn and Great Elder Changsun. Coupled with the poison, the attack was truly shocking, cutting and corroding the blood-red vines. The Fengli universe was originally a low-level universe formed by Heavenly Venerable Feng Li's avatar. Heavenly Venerable Feng Li had already died, but because the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine had merged and infiltrated the Fengli universe, the Fengli universe did not collapse. At this moment, the Mercury Spirit's explosive power caused the universe to collapse. Wherever the silver-white sword chi swept out, huge black holes appeared. The Mercury Spirit's poisonous aura was not only extremely poisonous, but it also had a strong penetrative ability like mercury. It quickly infiltrated the Feng Li universe's heavenly Dao law and corroded it, causing the entire universe to be plunged into misery and suffering. No one knew how many lives had been lost. A single clash between experts can destroy a part of the universe and destroy countless lives. Such a thing must not happen in my heavenly Dao avatar. Seeing this scene, Su Feng was frightened, and his desire to become stronger became even more firm. Hu Yufei shouted loudly, "That non-human girl, just submit to me and let me have a taste of you. I promise I won't kill you. Why do you have to be so stubborn?" Su Feng's back was filled with a chill. This young master whose taste was really strange. Arrogant human brat. When I catch you later, I guarantee that I'll make you wish you were dead. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother body was at a disadvantage against the Mercury Spirit's attacks, and with Hu Yufei's arrogance, it was finally enraged and let out a furious roar. Swish! Swish! Blood vines gushed out from nowhere, covering the sky and covering the sun. Blood vines danced in the air. In its fury, the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother body finally unleashed all of its strength to deal with the Mercury Spirit. The Mercury Spirit also unleashed its most powerful attack. It was not a lethal poison, nor was it a self-detonating sword chi. Instead, it released a ray of silver light. Chi! Chi! The silver light contained a powerful force that could destroy everything. Countless blood-red vines were turned into ashes layer by layer within the silver light. However, after releasing that powerful attack, the Mercury Spirit seemed to have dimmed quite a bit. Hu Yufei's aura had also weakened. She was sweating profusely and her face was pale. Although the Mercury Spirit was his Dharma body, it was not something he had truly cultivated. He had to use his primordial spirit to activate it. The battle with the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine had consumed a large amount of his primordial spirit's power. It was unbearable for a good-for-nothing like him. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother body and the Mercury Spirit must have suffered great losses. This is the best time for me to escape. Su Feng planned to take out the Fuyao Cavern and seize the opportunity to escape Fengli Universe. However, he thought about it from another perspective. Su Feng looked towards the depths of Fengli Universe's Dao Ocean. A burning light flashed in his eyes, followed by ruthlessness and decisiveness. A bold idea popped up in his mind. This is a rare opportunity. Why don't I seize it and snatch the heart of the other race's expert, slayer? The heart of the other race's expert, slayer, was a precious treasure that aided in the cultivation of the supreme heavenly Tao. Even Dongxian Daozu valued it immensely. The importance of this treasure was evident. In Shui Ruo Valley, Su Fong had only cultivated for 2,000 years with the help of the heart, and his cultivation base had improved tremendously. It was also this cultivation that allowed his cultivation base to rise and be on par with Sima Xiao Xiao, becoming Dongshuan's #1. Later, when Slayer's heart was stolen by the heaven-piercing Blood King vine, Su Fong lamented for a while. If he did not take it now, when would he take it? Riches and honor were found in danger. The more dangerous it was, the more amazing the fortuitous encounter and fortune it contained. If I don't fight for such a precious treasure in front of me, I will definitely regret it for the rest of my life. Thinking of this, Su Fong's thoughts became extremely resolute. Then he stretched out his hand and grabbed a peach leaf-shaped rune. It was the one-leaf concealment talisman he had snatched from Yifei Bai. He had obtained a total of 3 one-leaf concealment talismans from Yifei Bai. Now, he only had this one left in his hand. It was just right to use it. Su Fong activated the rune. A divine aura immediately enveloped his body, and he disappeared from Fengli universe without a trace. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother body was fighting with a Mercury spirit. Naturally, it would be difficult for it to notice Su Fong's actions. Hu Yufei, Zhan Shun, and the others' attention was not on Su Fong, so they did not notice Su Fong's sudden disappearance. Even if they did, it would be difficult for them to find Su Fong's traces. Su Fong avoided the area where the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine and the Mercury Spirit were fighting while hiding his presence and aura. He flew toward the depths of the Dao River. Thump, thump, thump. Seeing the huge blood cocoon in the Dao Ocean and hearing the sound of the heart beating inside, Su Fong's heart could not help but thump. Huff. He secretly controlled his breathing. The precious treasure was right in front of him. The more important it was at a time like this, the more he had to remain calm. The treasure belongs to me, Su Fong. Su Fong's figure appeared and released a dazzling blade light. The shocking blade light that could destroy everything fell on the blood cocoon. The outer layer of blood shell shattered layer by layer, and a heart was exposed. It was the heart of the foreign tribe expert slayer that Su Fong had seen in Shiro Valley. What Su Fong did not expect was that the heart was pierced by a thick blood vine. The mother body of the heaven-piercing Blood King vine was ambitious. Not only did it intend to merge with the heart and recover to its previous peak state, but it also wanted to obtain the foreign tribe expert slayer's ability. This is troublesome. If I want to take the heart, I have to cut off the blood vine. At that time, I will definitely alarm the mother body of the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. What should I do? Su Fong frowned and fell into a dilemma. Suddenly, a loud shout resounded in the Fengli universe. Su Fong wants to take the blood cocoon. It turned out to be the ancestor of the Feng clan. The Feng clan was equivalent to being exterminated this time. The ancestor of the Feng clan was also seriously injured. Naturally, he hated Su Fong to the core. Therefore, he had been paying attention to Su Fong's every move. Su Fong activated the one-leaf vision concealment talisman to hide his figure. Although the Feng clan's ancestor couldn't see him, he guessed Su Fong's intention. Therefore, he quietly came to the Dao Sea of the Fengli universe. Seeing that Su Fong was about to snatch away the blood cocoon, the Feng clan suddenly spoke at this crucial moment. Feng clan's old ancestor, you deserve to die. Su Fong was instantly enraged, his eyes burning with rage. The Feng clan's ancestor laughed maniacally. Su Fong, you annihilated my Feng clan. Not only will I not let you get the treasure, but I will also let you die in the hands of the heaven-piercing Blood King Ratan. As expected, the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's main body was alarmed. Swish, swish, blood vines shot out from all directions, instantly enveloping Su Fong and the entire sea of the path. Damned foreign race woman. How dare she be so fierce? Hu Yufei absorbed the mercury spirit into his body and used it to fight the heaven-piercing Blood King, Vine's mother body. He suffered heavy losses, and his legs went soft as he collapsed to the ground. Zhan Chun hurriedly said, "Young master, leave quickly. It's a pity for that foreign race woman," Hu Yufei said regretfully. Until now, he still couldn't forget the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine. A Hu people expert activated the carriage. Hu Yufei's carriage was also a powerful flying Shinbao. Those flood dragons pulling the carriage were merely used by Hu Yufei to show off. At this moment, even if there were no flood dragons, it could still be activated. The carriage burst out a huge Xianguang and rushed out like a meteor. Fortunately, the Fengli universe was already in a state of collapse, and the powerful boundary formed by the heavenly Tao's voice was also gone. The carriage was able to smoothly rush out of the Fengli universe, then rushed into the chaotic void and broke through the void. In the Fengli universe's sea of the path, the Feng clan's ancestor was still laughing complacently when a blood vine pierced through his head and instantly sucked him dry. Then, the corpse shattered and turned into a pile of ashes. "You lowly human, you really have guts. You can't even keep your life, but you still want to seize my treasure. Today, not only do I want to devour your life, but I also want to shackle your soul and drag it into the nightmare world to be tortured forever." The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother body gnashed its teeth in anger from the blood vines that filled the sky. It was obviously injured in the battle with the Mercury spirit, and its voice was filled with exhaustion. However, its killing intent towards Su Feng was still extremely strong. Chi! Chi! Countless blood vines rushed toward Su Feng in a frenzy, covering the sky and covering the earth. Heaven-piercing Blood King Vine, I, Su Feng, am destined to be your nemesis. It was in the past, and it will be the same this time. Su Feng revealed a domineering smile and immediately activated a rune talisman that he had prepared beforehand. A strong smell of alcohol erupted from Su Feng's hand and swept out in all directions. That's the rune talisman of a divine saint expert. Damn it, how could I forget about this? When the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine possessed Ling Xingchen, it had witnessed Su Feng using the rune talisman to suppress Heartbreaker Grandma. Naturally, it knew how powerful the Wine Saint's rune talisman was. Now that it saw Su Feng activating the same rune talisman, it was shocked and angry. The strong smell of alcohol immediately stopped the attack of the blood-red vines. The blood-red vines kept swaying as if they were drunk. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's mother body was really unlucky. It had just recovered some of its strength. If it had attacked Su Feng at that time, Su Feng would not have been able to resist, even if he had the Wine Saint's rune talisman. Chapter 2960. Su Feng, if you dare to take my heart, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine threatened Su Feng in a muffled voice like a drunkard. Your heart? That's the heart of the alien race expert, Slayer. You stole it. Now it belongs to me, Su Feng. Su Feng revealed a domineering smile and scoffed at the threat of the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine. Immediately, he activated the sliver of primordial aura that he had just recovered from the Jiushuan Dao Palace. He circulated it to his palm and grabbed the blood vine that pierced the heart. The primordial aura burst out. Although it was only a sliver, it still easily broke the blood vine. Su Feng grabbed the heart, sealed it, and absorbed it into the Dao Palace. The alien race expert, Slayer's heart, was in his hands just like that. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine still had a sliver of consciousness. It murmured, "Despicable human, I will kill you. I will kill you. You still want to kill me?" Su Feng's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He was ready to go all out and kill the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's main body. Dao Ancestor, Xixin, let out a thunderous roar. That sky-piercing Blood King Vine can be said to have an undying body. With your strength, it's impossible for you to kill it. Moreover, that drunkard's rune won't be able to shackle it for long. How could Xixin dare to doubt Dao Zu's words? He hurriedly activated his wasp wings, Xian Bao, and shuttled through the gaps between the blood vines. After flying out of the sea of the Dao, Su Fong took out the Fuyao, Immortal's Cave, and entered the palace. He activated the Immortal's Cave and turned into a giant Kuan Peng. He flapped his wings and flew away. After rushing out of the crumbling Feng Li universe, he saw the giant black tortoise struggling to swim in the chaotic void. This black tortoise was severely injured. However, not only was its defense amazing, its recovery ability was also amazing. Although it was severely injured, it was not dead yet. Su Fong did not hesitate to absorb it into the Jiushuan Dao Palace, and then continued to activate the Fuyao Immortal's Cave. He disappeared from the chaotic void without a trace. Less than an hour after Su Fong left, a roar came from Feng Li universe. Su Fong, I will kill you. Boom! A blood-red vine soared into the sky from Feng Li universe and wantonly waved in the chaotic void. With the speed of Fuyao Immortal's Cave, Su Fong was far away. How could he find him? Despicable and shameless human brat. The next time I catch you, I'll devour you. The sky-piercing Blood King vine vented its anger on the Feng Li cosmos. As the blood vine danced wildly, it wrapped the entire Feng Li cosmos. Under the crazy devouring of the heaven-piercing Blood King Rot Tan, all life in the Feng Li universe, which was the origin of the universe, was completely devoured. Finally, the universe collapsed, turning into countless ruins and fragments, drifting in the chaotic void. The transcendents in Feng Li universe were also swallowed by the Blood King vine. The entire Feng clan, except for Feng Jinhua, died. Even ordinary mortals could not survive. About 500 years. Inside the Fuyao Immortal's Cave, Su Fong took out the heart, his eyes flashing with a scorching light. Su Fong did not expect this trip to Feng clan. He not only avenged Goddess Luo, but also met mystery and unexpectedly obtained such a peerless treasure. With such a treasure, I will be able to cultivate Jiushuan Limitless Sutra with twice the result with half the effort. The speed of improvement will be amazing. Su Fong's heart was brimming with joy. When Slayer's heart was placed in the Blood Valley, countless experts in the Jiushuan God realm rushed to the Blood Valley to use the heart to comprehend the heavenly way. Even for those peerless powerhouses with noble status and powerful strength, there was a time limit every time they used Slaughter's heart to train. Su Fong took Slayer's heart for himself. He could use it to cultivate at any time. There was no time limit. The benefits he obtained were unimaginable. How could Su Fong not be happy with such a great harvest? Su Fong had only managed to obtain such a fortuitous encounter by risking his life. Luo had said before that the greater the danger, the greater the opportunity. It was true. Don't be happy too early. Shi Xian Daozu suddenly spoke in his body, pouring cold water on Su Fong. Su Fong asked in surprise, Master, why? Shi Xian Daozu said slowly, even Dong Xian Daozu values this heart. If he knows it is in your hands, can you still keep it? Even if that old bastard Dong Xian Daozu doesn't return it, if other experts know, will they let you go? Su Fong stilled. Now that he had obtained a peerless treasure, he had been so pleased with himself that he had actually forgotten about this point. Dude, do I have to get the heart back? Su Fong was unwilling to hand over the treasures that he had obtained, no matter what. Shi Xian Daozu said, Such a treasure, since you have obtained it. How can you give it away? Also, it is that old bastard Dong Xian Daozu's treasure. Even more, you cannot give it away. Master will use a supreme technique to seal it in your Fuyao cave. Unless Dong Xian Daozu personally enters your cave, no one will know that Slayer's heart is in your hands. Su Fong was surprised and overjoyed. Many thanks, Master. Besides that, this heart isn't as powerful as you think it is. Although the alien expert Slaughter was born with the supreme ability to communicate with the heavenly Tao, it isn't a human after all. Its main ability is to kill, not to cultivate or control the heavenly Tao. Therefore, Slayer's heart is only a support. When you cultivate Jiushuan's Wuji Sutra to a certain level, it will be of limited help to you. Cultivation still depends on yourself. All other external forces can only be support. If you rely too much on external forces, your future accomplishments will be limited. You have to remember this. Shixin Daozu patiently explained the disadvantages of Slayer's heart to Su Fong. This disciple understands. Many thanks for Master's teachings. Next, Shixin Daozu used a powerful formation to open up an independent space inside Fuyao Cave and sealed Slayer's heart inside. In this way, Su Fong could use Slayer's heart to sense and comprehend the heavenly Tao and cultivate Jiuxuan's Wuji Sutra. However, because Slayer's heart was too shocking, he could not use his mind or primordial spirit to comprehend it, nor could he use the time formation. He could only enter the depths of the formation in person to be close to it. Su Fong was not in a hurry to cultivate. Instead, he stayed in the time formation inside Fuyao Cave, devouring pills and spiritual items. At the same time, he used the heaven-piercing Blood King vines to recover the energy and life he had expended. Su Fong also brought Yu Ji's body into the formation. Su Fong took out a large amount of ancient pills to help him recover as soon as possible. Dong Xinichin and Dong Xian Chan's Dao palaces and the shackles in their bodies were also removed by Su Fong, and they stayed in Su Fong's Fuyao Cave to cultivate. As for Feng Jinhua, Su Fong did not pay much attention to him. He gave him some pills and resources and let him cultivate in the Dao Palace. Su Fong did not forget about the Black Tortoise. There were countless corpses of pupa race cultivators sealed in his Dao Palace, and he could take them out to help the Black Tortoise recover. About 300 years passed. Whoosh, a huge Kuan Peng flashed out of the chaotic void, stirring up a monstrous spatial storm that rippled in all directions. Su Fong flew out of Fuyao Cave. He took out the Dingxian disc and was about to determine his current position. Suddenly, a Xian Guang flew over at an astonishing speed. Su Fong had just sensed the appearance of the Xian Guang when he was thousands of miles away in an instant. It turned out to be a divine bird with rainbow-colored feathers. It was thousands of feet long and looked a little like a peacock. Some figures could be faintly seen on its back, but their faces could not be seen clearly due to the barrier. Buzz, 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 a familiar aura caused the heavenly secret life shrinking technique runes in Su Fong's Jiuxuan Dao Palace to flash rapidly, and finally condensed into the figure of a black-clothed woman. Sima Xiao Xiao. He did not expect to meet Sima Xiao Xiao here. Sima Xiao Xiao, who was on the back of the divine bird, also noticed Su Fong. She raised her eyebrows and snorted coldly. An incomparably handsome and noble youth beside Sima Xiao Xiao sensed Sima Xiao Xiao's expression and urged the divine bird to fly towards Su Fong's Fuyao Cave. Sima Xiao Xiao, you're still so domineering in the Eastern Xian divine domain. A fierce aura surged in Su Fong's heart, and his murderous intent and aura erupted with a loud bang. The divine bird let out a cry, filled with terror, and immediately came to a halt. The people on its back were caught off guard, and some of them fell directly. Sima Xiao Xiao and the handsome youth swayed for a moment before they steadied themselves. You're courting death. The handsome youth flew into a rage and was about to attack Su Fong. Su Fong, that's Su Fong. A cultivator behind Sima Xiao Xiao exclaimed. It was Qiu Changfeng, who had one of his arms destroyed by Su Fong in the Jiuxuan divine domain. The handsome youth's expression changed, and he sneered disdainfully. The matter of requesting pills is important. Ignore Su Fong, Sima Xiao Xiao said indifferently. If it weren't for Miss Sima, I'd definitely teach that Su Fong a lesson. The handsome youth's fierce gaze swept over Su Fong, and then he urged the divine bird to fly away. The finals of the Jiuxuan divine domain are just around the corner, and Sima Xiao Xiao still has the leisure to wander around. Su Fong no longer paid any attention to Sima Xiao Xiao. Then, Su Fong activated the profound fixing disc and discovered to his surprise that this place wasn't far from the medicine god Dao sect. Of course, this so-called not far was only relative to the vast and boundless chaos. Even with the speed of a Dao master, it would take more than 100 years to reach the medicine god Dao sect from here. It's about time for my heavenly law Dharma body to return and get some pills from the medicine god Dao sect. After some thought, Su Fong decided to make a trip to the medicine god Dao sect. It wasn't just for the heavenly law Dharma body, but also for money. He was about to become a poor man again. Fu Yao's cave abode's ability was truly astonishing, but so was its consumption. Ever since he'd obtained it, Su Fong's consumption of divine stones alone was close to half of his wealth. Fu Yao's cave abode's consumption of money was too great. It wasn't something that ordinary cultivators could afford. Su Fong now owned Square Sky City and had countless cultivators under his command. In addition, the resources he consumed for his own cultivation were even more astonishing. He definitely couldn't do without money and resources. Su Fong already knew that the heavenly law Dharma body was in the medicine god Dao sect and had resolved its crisis after the ranking battle. Chapter 2961. To be overwhelmed by favor in less than 3 years, the mystic world of the medicine god way would be within sight. Su Fong put away the Fu Yao cave abode and used his great perfection stage ability to slightly change his appearance. This was also to avoid some unnecessary trouble. Then, he flew towards the divine medicine Dao. Who would have thought that after flying for a short distance, a divine bird shrouded in a rainbow-colored Xian Guang flew over from behind at lightning speed? What a coincidence! Outside the divine medicine way, he actually bumped into Sima Xiao Xiao. Su Fong's Fu Yao cave abode had the ability to travel through the void. Its speed was faster than the divine bird, so it arrived at the divine medicine Dao before Sima Xiao Xiao. A dozen cultivators flew out from the back of the divine bird. Other than that extraordinarily handsome youth, the others were Su Fong's acquaintances, Sima Xiao Xiao, Chiu Changfeng, and other profound south cultivators. When they saw Su Fong, Sima Xiao Xiao, and the others were first stunned, then they were not surprised. Although Su Fong had slightly changed his appearance, his aura remained the same. Sima Xiao Xiao and the others had crossed swords with Su Fong in the Joshuan Tian Xian, so they were naturally familiar with him. The handsome young man sneered and looked at Su Fong. Su Fong, I didn't expect you to be so shameless. You want to pursue Miss Sima? You're just a toad lusting after a swan. Why didn't you say anything? Instead, you secretly followed Miss Sima all the way. Pursue Sima, Xiao Xiao? Su Fong froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. Even if all the women in the human race died, he wouldn't have any interest in Sima Xiao Xiao. Su Fong said indifferently, Who are you? Are we close? The young man said proudly, I am Kue Ziyu, an elder of the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion. Su Fong's heart skipped a beat. Heaven Pavilion Elder? At such a young age, he was actually an elder of the Eastern Profound Sky Pavilion. It could be seen that this young man was extraordinary. Moreover, this person's aura was indeed powerful, comparable to Heartbreaker Granny. Dong Xinichin spoke from Fu Yao's residence. Su Fong. This person is Supreme Venerable Spring and Autumn's eldest disciple. He used to be a genius of the Heaven Pavilion and was ranked in the top 10. Back then, he was even more powerful than Dongxian Huiwang. Now, he's Dongxian Heavenly Pavilion's youngest elder. His ability is extraordinary, but he's arrogant, conceited, and narrow-minded. Su Fong thought to himself, no wonder he's so arrogant. Since he's following Sima Xiao Xiao, could it be that he's interested in her? Then, Su Fong chuckled and said, Elder Kue, you have misunderstood. I came to the medicine god Dao sect to look for someone. I have no interest in Lady Sima. Sima Xiao Xiao's eyes burned with black flames. It turned out that, among the rewards Sima Xiao Xiao obtained after the ranking battle, there was an extraordinary flame. She planned to fuse with it before the Joshuan finals to increase her strength. However, the flame was indeed extraordinary and could not be fused directly. It needed to be refined with the assistance of some special medicinal pills to fuse with it. In addition, Chiu Changfeng's arm had been destroyed by Su Fong, so he wanted to seek the help of the medicine god Dao sect's alchemist to see if he could recover with medicinal pills. The medicine god Dao sect was very famous. Not only in Dongxian, even South Xian cultivators knew about it. Therefore, Sima Xiao was prepared to come to the medicine god Dao sect to ask for medicinal pills. As Sima Xiao had offended many Dongxian cultivators during the Joshuan Heaven's Chosen competition, she would not be able to ask for any medicinal pills if she went directly to the medicine god Dao sect. Therefore, she sought the help of Dongshuan's higher-ups. Coincidentally, Kuei Ziyu had come to Dallas City as well. He had witnessed Sima Xiao's performance during the Joshuan Heaven's Chosen competition and was rather moved by her. In order to please the beauty, he volunteered to bring South Xian cultivators to the medicine god Dao sect. He did not expect to run into Su Fong. Kuei Ziyu hollered, "How can you be so rude in front of Miss Sima? Apologize quickly." Su Fong smiled indifferently. Sima Xiao wanted to sweep away Dongshuan's cultivators during the Joshuan Heaven's Chosen competition and snatched away countless cultivators' fortunes in Shiruo Valley. "Elder Kuei, are you an elder of Dongshuan's Heavenly Pavilion or South Xian's?" Kuei Ziyu was stunned. He then displayed the authority of a Heavenly Pavilion elder. "Since you know that I'm an elder of the Heavenly Pavilion, why don't you bow to me? Could it be that you, Dongshuan's top genius, are so arrogant that you don't even respect an elder of the Heavenly Pavilion? If it were a senior like Tuo Qianji, Su Fong, would naturally have to bow to you respectfully. As for some elders who try to suppress me with their status, what right do they have to deserve my respect? I have the seed of Dongxian Daozu's will. Not to mention an ordinary elder like you. Even the supreme elder of spring and autumn doesn't have to bow to me. Could it be that you are more honorable than the supreme elder of spring and autumn? Could it be that you, as an elder, are above the will of Dongxian Daozu?" Su Fong's words were sharp and aggressive, leaving Kuei Ziyu speechless. After saying that, Su Fong flew towards the mountain gate. Kuei Ziyu's expression was dark, as if a storm was brewing. A long line formed outside the medicine god Dao's mountain gate. There were more than 1,000 people waiting outside. The medicine god, Dao, had regained its former glory. Cultivators who came to ask for pills were flocked to the place. The people in front of Mountain Gate were naturally cultivators who had come to ask for pills. The elixirs of the medicine divine path were famous throughout the entire Eastern Xian divine realm. Many of the elixirs could only be refined by the medicine divine path. Therefore, many cultivators from the Eastern Xian divine realm, and even some from other divine realms, came to the medicine divine path to obtain elixirs. It was not easy for ordinary cultivators to enter the medicine god Dao, no matter how rich they were. They might not get what they wanted even if they managed to enter the medicine god Dao after much difficulty. It also depended on the mood of the medicine god Dao's alchemist. Su Fong cut through the line and came to the mountain gate. The cultivators who had come to ask for pills had been waiting anxiously. When they saw someone cutting the line, they shouted angrily. The medicine god Dao's cultivator guarding the mountain gate shouted coldly, "Where did you come from? Get to the back of the line, or don't even think about entering the medicine god Dao's mountain gate." Su Fong's name had spread throughout Dongxian, but not many had seen him in person. No one would have thought that the unparalleled genius who had dominated the ranking match would appear in the medicine god Dao. Even if they saw Su Fong in person, they would at most think that he looked similar to Su Fong and not Su Fong himself. In addition, Su Fong had changed his appearance, so no one would recognize him. Su Fong was too lazy to explain. He retreated to the side and sent a message to the Heaven's Path Dharma body in the medicine god Dao. In less than a moment, Kuei Ziyu, Sima Xiao, and the others came to the mountain gate. Kuei Ziyu was delighted to see that Su Fong could not even enter the mountain gate. The southern mystic divine realm's geniuses looked at Su Fong with mocking eyes. "I am Dongxian Heavenly Pavilion's elder, Kuei Ziyu. I have come to the medicine god Dao to ask for pills. Please report my arrival," Kuei Ziyu said to the medicine god Dao cultivator guarding the mountain gate. "Heavenly Pavilion's elder." The medicine god Dao cultivator was shocked and looked respectful. He quickly took out a rune talisman to report to the higher-ups of the medicine god Dao. "He's an elder of the Heavenly Pavilion at such a young age." The many cultivators in the line behind let out cries of surprise as they looked at Kuei Ziyu with eyes full of reverence. Kuei Ziyu had become famous at a young age, so had seen many such scenes. However, he was in high spirits now that he was being adored by the crowd in front of Sima Xiaoxiao. Sima Xiaoxiao was called a demoness by the Dongxian cultivators. She was also a great beauty, so there were many who recognized her. Soon, someone recognized Sima Xiaoxiao beside Kuei Ziyu and was shocked again. Kuei Ziyu was even more pleased with himself. He glanced at Su Fong, his eyes cold as he sneered. He then said to the medicine god, Dao, cultivator guarding the mountain gate, "This person came to the medicine god Dao with ill intentions. Don't let him take half a step into the medicine god Dao, and don't sell him a single pill." The medicine god, Dao, cultivator quickly answered, "Yes." The southern mystic cultivators looked at Su Fong gloatingly. Kuei Ziyu waved his sleeves. "Chase him away. I feel annoyed just looking at him." "You, leave quickly, or else." The medicine god, Dao cultivator, shouted coldly at Su Fong, but before he could finish, he was stunned when he saw Su Fong's face. He looked familiar, but he did not dare to recognize him. Suddenly, clang, clang. Kuei Ziyu was stunned, but he smiled and said, "Medicine god Dao is too courteous to welcome me with the clang of a bell. I wonder how many times the bell will ring." Normally, if a sect had a distinguished guest, they would ring the bell to welcome the guest as a sign of respect to the guest. The number of times the bell rang represented the guest's status in the hearts of the sects and forces. Kuei Ziyu was proud and arrogant, so he was more concerned about this. Clang, clang. The bell rang 108 times. "Medicine god, Dao has gone too far this time. I can't bear it. You're too courteous." Even someone as arrogant as Kuei Ziyu was excited when he heard the bell. At the same time, he was full of pride. The bell rang 108 times, which meant that an incomparably noble person had arrived. It also meant that the sect leader had come to welcome him personally. Medicine god, Dao, was not an ordinary sect. How could he not be proud when they welcomed Kuei Ziyu in such a grand manner? Kuei Ziyu looked at Sima Xiaoxiao and said confidently, "Miss Sima, it seems that medicine god, Dao, has given me face. You don't have to worry about the elixir you want to refine." Sima Xiaoxiao nodded and said, "Thank you, Elder Kuei." Kuei Ziyu shook his head and smiled. "It's just a small matter. Don't mention it." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many cultivators looked at Kuei Ziyu with even more respect. It was so difficult for them to enter medicine god Dao's mountain gate, but Kuei Ziyu enjoyed such treatment. He was indeed an elder of Heaven Pavilion. Whoosh! A middle-aged man with ruddy skin wearing a green Taoist robe appeared at the mountain gate. Then, more than 100 alchemists wearing Taoist robes appeared. They were all alchemy grandmasters. At this moment, all the alchemy grandmasters and medicine god Dao had come out in full force. The leader of medicine god Dao, not only the leader of medicine god Dao, but all the alchemists of medicine god Dao had come out to welcome him. Even Supreme Holiness Spring and Autumn did not come to the medicine god Dao in such a grand manner. Chapter 2962. Little did they know, the leader of the medicine divine Dao sect scanned Kuei Ziyu with his divine light. "You are..." Kuei Ziyu's expression froze. The leader of the medicine divine Dao sect didn't know him? Kuei Ziyu smiled. "I am Kuei Ziyu, and I am Elder Kuei." The leader of the medicine divine Dao sect nodded slightly and walked past Kuei Ziyu to Su Fong. Then he cupped his fists and smiled. "Elder Su Fong, you came back to the medicine divine Dao sect without telling me in advance. Sorry for the neglect." As soon as he said that, not only did Kuei Ziyu's expression stiffen, but his entire body also became stiff. Only then did he realize that the 108 welcoming bells, as well as the leader of the medicine divine Dao sect, and the alchemy masters, did not come for him, but for Su Fong. What did it mean to think too much? This was it in front of him. Kuei Ziyu felt as if he had been slapped in the face in public. He felt awkward, embarrassed, conflicted, and all kinds of emotions. Sima Xiaoxiao, Qiu Changfeng, and the other South Mystic cultivators were dumbfounded. Then, they all looked at Kuei Ziyu with strange eyes, which made Kuei Ziyu's face burn. He couldn't wait to find a crack in the void and crawl into it. The Medicine Divine Dao sect cultivator guarding the mountain gate had already recognized Su Fong. He was scared out of his wits and hurriedly knelt down before Su Fong. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Many cultivators in front of the mountain gate looked at Su Fong in unison. Everyone was shocked and exclaimed one after another. Su Fong, it's really Su Fong. I can't believe I got to see Su Fong. Ha ha. Fortune, great fortune. Even if I can't get the pill this time, this trip is worth it. 108 welcoming bells, and the leader of the Medicine Divine Dao sect came to welcome me personally. Su Fong is really important. Everyone's discussion reached Kuei Ziyu's ears. He felt as if he was standing in front of everyone without a stitch of clothing. His face felt a burning sensation again. Greetings, Elder Su Fong. More than 100 alchemy grandmasters cupped their fists to Su Fong at the same time. Su Fong cupped his fists and responded, "Sect leader and masters are too polite. How can Su Fong bear the responsibility?" The leader of the Medicine Divine Path smiled and said, "Elder Su Fong has saved the Medicine Divine Path. If we don't even have this little bit of etiquette, won't the cultivators of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain call us ungrateful?" Previously, Su Fong had sent a message to the Heavenly Path Dharma Body, and the Heavenly Path Dharma Body had informed Master Apothecary Chu. Who would have thought that the Medicine God sect would make such a big move? Su Fong naturally understood that the Medicine God Dao sect was making such a big fuss because they wanted to announce to the Eastern Profound Divine Region that Su Fong was an elder of the Medicine God Dao sect. They wanted to use his reputation to stop the ambitions of the Treasure 4 Merchant Guild. Su Fong did not reveal the intentions of the Medicine Divine Path. He chuckled and flew towards the mountain gate with the leader of the Medicine Divine Path. When he passed by Kuei Ziyu and the cultivators of the Southern Profound Divine Domain, Su Fong suddenly paused. Then he turned to the Medicine Divine Path cultivator guarding the mountain gate and said, "This person brought the Southern Profound cultivators to the Medicine Divine Path. He must have ulterior motives. We must not let him enter the Medicine Divine Path. Chase him away. Yes, we will follow Elder Su Fong's orders." The Medicine Divine Path cultivator was scared half to death. If the leader of the Medicine Divine Path knew that he was going to chase Su Fong away, it would be strange if he was not expelled from the Medicine Divine Path. Now that Su Fong had no intention of pursuing the matter and even gave him a chance, how could he not comply? As for Kuei Ziyu's identity, the Medicine Divine Path cultivator had long forgotten about it. He coldly shouted at Kuei Ziyu, "Everyone, the Medicine Divine Path is not a place you can come to. Hurry up and leave, or we will not be polite to you." The leader of the Medicine Divine Path raised his eyebrows, but did not stop him. Of course, he knew Sima Xiao Xiao. Although Kuei Ziyu was an elder of the Heavenly Pavilion, he and Sima Xiao Xiao were naturally enemies of Su Fong. Su Fong chased away Kuei Ziyu and Sima Xiao Xiao, so the Medicine Divine Path would offend an elder of the Heavenly Pavilion. However, compared to Su Fong, a mere elder of the Heavenly Pavilion was nothing. "Miss Sima, let's go." Kuei Ziyu was so angry that his lungs almost exploded, but he had nowhere to vent his anger. He waved his sleeve and let out a cold snort, teleporting 1,000 miles away. Sima Xiao Xiao and the other Southern Profound cultivators had to leave the mountain gate of the Medicine Divine Path. They entered the Medicine Divine Path. Su Fong summoned the Heavenly Path Dharma Body and kept it in the Doctrine Palace. The leader of the Medicine Divine Path personally held a grand banquet and invited the leaders of the major forces to accompany and entertain Su Fong. Even the Treasure Form Chamber of Commerce and Zhao Shiqi came to the Medicine Divine Path. It took half a year. During this time, Su Fong met the reincarnation of his grandfather, Su Danshan. Su Danshan had been taken in as a disciple by the leader of the Medicine Divine Path. Usually, Master Apothecary Chu would personally teach him alchemy, and the leader of the Medicine Divine Path would often give him pointers as well. Now that he had a special identity, he had all kinds of resources to practice alchemy. Other disciples would find it difficult to enjoy them, but he had an endless supply of them in the sect. Naturally, his alchemy skills had risen rapidly, and he was like a rising star in the medicine divine path. Su Fong was completely relieved and didn't interfere too much with Su Danshan's affairs, lest it interfere with his destiny. After 10 years of staying in the medicine divine path, Su Fong bid farewell to the leader of the medicine divine path. Without needing Su Fong to ask, the leader of the medicine divine path gave Su Fong a storage ring. In the storage ring, there were 10 million high-grade pills, a million supreme-grade pills, and all kinds of pills. In addition, there were also a large number of divine stones, gems, spirit items, and other resources. Su Fong estimated that the wealth in the storage ring was equivalent to half of a first-rate sect. The medicine divine path lived up to its name as the #1 alchemy sect in the Eastern Xian divine domain. Su Fong, of course, understood that the medicine divine path gave him such a large amount of resources not only to thank him, but also to rope him in as a big backer. The medicine divine path didn't care much about the other forces, even the 3 highest profound sects in the Heaven Pavilion. No matter how big their appetite was, they couldn't swallow the medicine divine path. The medicine divine path was mainly afraid of the heavenly race, but with Dongxian Daozu as their backer, the medicine divine path had no choice but to rely on Su Fong. After bidding farewell to the leader of the medicine divine path and reminding Su Danshan, Su Fong left the medicine divine path. Su Fong. As soon as he left the medicine divine path, Sima Xiao sent him a message with her primordial spirit, and then her figure flashed. He didn't expect that she hadn't left the medicine divine path, but was guarding the mountain gate. Qiu Changfeng and the other South Mystic cultivators followed, but Kuei Ziyu was nowhere to be seen. After being humiliated in the medicine divine path, he didn't have the face to stay. "What's the matter?" Su Fong replied indifferently. Sima Xiao said, "I want to refine some special pills, and only the alchemy grandmasters of the medicine god Dao can refine them. Please say a few words, and I will remember this favor in my heart." Su Fong sneered. "You said you wanted to kill me in the ranking tournament, and now you want me to help you?" Sima Xiao snorted. "That's because you humiliated me in the Void Valley first, and I was angry, so I wanted to kill you. The Intermediate Mystic Realm Finals are around the corner, and this matter is very important to me. As long as you help me this time, all the previous grudges will be written off, and I, Sima Xiao, will owe you a favor." "Sorry, Su Fong, have never had the habit of helping my enemies," Su Fong said indifferently, then took out the Fuyao cavern and was about to leave. Sima Xiao said loudly, "Su Fong, the demon race world has been invaded by the foreign races, and a large number of demon race experts have fled to the southern profound divine domain. The foreign races will attack the southern profound divine domain at any time, and the southern profound divine domain is in danger." What does that have to do with Su Fong? This Jiushuan Heaven selection is not for my own reputation, but for the entire southern profound continent. Only by standing out in the Jiushuan Heaven selection can I raise the morale of the southern profound cultivators and win the support of the Jiushuan's upper echelons. Su Fong, for the sake of the southern profound divine domain, I beg you this time. Sima Xiao cupped his fists and bowed to Su Fong. Qiu Changfeng and the other southern profound cultivators also cupped their fists and bowed to Su Fong. Su Fong was silent for a moment, then flew into the cavern's interior. Su Fong is indeed not easy to persuade. Sima Xiao sighed helplessly. Whoosh, a jade slip flew out of Fuyao's cavern, followed by Su Fong's voice. "Take this jade slip to the medicine god Dao sect, and someone will naturally help you refine pills." Sima Xiao was pleasantly surprised. "Many thanks. In the future, don't say that Su Fong has humiliated you." With that, Su Fong activated Fuyao's cavern and flew away. Sima Xiao looked at the place where Su Fong disappeared, a complicated look in her deep, cold eyes. Su Fong took another 100 years to return to Square Sky City. He did not alarm the cultivators in the city, but went directly to the palace in the depths of Square Sky City. With Su Fang's return, Xuanxin and the others were naturally surprised and happy. They didn't know what kind of danger Su Fang had experienced on this trip, but the harvest was also incomparably astonishing. Su Fang was somewhat disappointed that Goddess Luo had not returned. Although Gu Qianxi and Xu Chongxiao also had extraordinary flying Dharma treasures, they could not compare to Fu Yao's cavern. Instead, Su Fang had returned first. However, Su Fang had nothing to worry about. With Gu Qianxi and Xu Chongxiao around, Goddess Luo would naturally be fine. Xuanxin already knew that Goddess Luo had been resurrected. He was also very happy for Goddess Luo when he learned from Su Fang that Goddess Luo had recovered her memories. These years, Square Sky City had also undergone great changes. The experts under Su Fang's command had improved at an astonishing speed. There were also countless rogue cultivators who had come to seek refuge under Su Fang. As a result, the overall strength of Square Sky City had surpassed that of the Taoist sect and become the #1 force in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. What made Su Fang even happier was that Qingyu's strength was about to undergo a great transformation. In the top 10 ranking battle, Su Fang used the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to devour a large amount of blood qi from the Rock Prince. The Xinyang Dharma body had brought the blood qi back to Square Sky City for Qingyu to cultivate. Qingyu was still in seclusion, absorbing the Rock Prince's blood qi. When he came out of seclusion, his strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Although Xuanxin, Luo, and the others' cultivation had improved, they were definitely not as good as Qingyu. After all, the time was too short. Su Fang let Dong Xinichen and Dong Xinchan out. Dong Xinichen decided to stay in Square Sky City to cultivate and prepare for the Jiuquan finals. Dong Xinchan naturally stayed behind to accompany him. Mystery, who was heavily injured, continued to stay in Fu Yao's cavern to recover. After this trip to the central profound divine territory, no one knew when Su Fang would return. With Su Fang's current status and vision, he was no longer limited to the eastern profound divine territory. Hence, Su Fang handed all the affairs of Square Sky City to Hua Tiannu to manage. He planned to build Square Sky City into a branch of the eastern profound divine territory. He gathered Qin Heng and the other loyal subordinates and gave them resources so that they could cultivate and improve their strength. Chapter 2963. Just as Su Fang was about to go into seclusion, Tuo Qianji's consciousness came to Fang Tian City. Su Fang, I heard that you've done well in Stalwart Star City again. Not only did you completely fall out with the Yi family, you even dominated the Stalwart Star Arena. The Yi family has gone too far. I had no choice but to do so. The Yi family actually plotted to kill you in Stalwart Star City. How overbearing. They really think that there's no one in Dongxian. It's good that you've humiliated the Yi family this time. The 5 divine families of Zhongshuan have always been used to being high and mighty. The Yi family is so, and so are the other divine families. Su Fang could not help shaking his head with a bitter smile when he thought of Hu Peoples Hu Yufei. This reputed one is here to inform you of something. Daozu has personally issued a decree that the Venerable One Golden Peak has been transferred out of Stalwart Star City to Heaven Pavilion to handle some miscellaneous affairs. In Stalwart Star City, if it were not for the Venerable One Golden Peak's tacit consent or even secret help, how could the Yi family be so arrogant? Stalwart Star City was the key point of the Eastern Xian divine domain that led to other divine domains. Naturally, it was a lucrative job for the Venerable One Golden Peak to oversee Stalwart Star City. Now that the Venerable One Golden Peak had been transferred back to Heaven Pavilion to handle miscellaneous affairs, it was obviously his punishment. Su Fang did not expect Heaven Pavilion to punish the Venerable One Golden Peak in such a manner. At the same time, his impression of Dongxian Heaven Pavilion improved greatly. However, Su Fang did not understand why Dongxian Daozu valued him so much when he was at most a genius. Su Fang guessed that it was probably because of Daozu. Sigh, this year's Heaven Pavilion disciples are really unlucky. Dongxian Lai, Dongxian Xinyang, and Dongxian Qingwei did not place very well in the other divine domains Heaven's Chosen contest. There are also two Daozu's direct disciples. Let not talk about them. Daozu treats you like this because he hopes that you can show Dongshuan's might in the Jiuxuan Chosen contest. Don't disappoint him. Su Fong understands. You've killed quite a number of people from the 5 major Middle Xian tribes in Stalwart Star City, especially the Yi tribe. When the Jiuxuan Tian Xian finals begin, the 5 major tribes will not let you off so easily. You must be careful. Thank you for your reminders, sir. I will be careful. Don't be too afraid. After all, Jiuxuan's Heaven's Chosen is a gathering of the human race's geniuses. The 5 god clans wouldn't dare to go overboard. Besides, you're just a junior. The 5 god clans won't really use their power to pressure you. Then, Tuo Qinji warned, what you need to pay attention to are the geniuses of the 5 divine races and the other divine realms. The Jiuxuan Heaven's Chosen finals will gather all the top geniuses of a human race. You must show your edge and display enough strength and ability. At that time, the 5 divine races won't dare to touch you. He ended the conversation with Tuo Qinji. Su Fong began his closed-door cultivation, preparing for the central, profound, divine domains Jiuxuan Heavenly Selection Finals. Inside Fu Yao's cavern dwelling, Su Fong entered the independent space that Xian Daozu had created in the depths of Fu Yao's cavern dwelling. He sat cross-legged under Slaughter's heart. He used the Jiuxuan's limitless sutra, mantra, and fused it with his heart. His entire person was immersed in a wondrous state as his heart beat. Thump, thump, thump. Gradually, he came into contact with the mysterious, ethereal, and vast heavenly Tao. He peeked into the origin of the heavenly Tao and the mysteries of its endless evolution. Time flew by. Unknowingly, Su Fong had cultivated in Fu Yao's cavern dwelling for 3,000 years. Su Fong stopped cultivating and came out of the independent cavern dwelling. The heavenly Tao was vast and boundless, like a boundless ocean. Even with Su Fong's current cultivation, he could at most be considered to have gone from the river to the sea and caught a wave in the ocean. After 3,000 years of meditation, Su Fong felt that he had reached his limit. If he wanted to advance further, he had to continuously cultivate his comprehension and turn it into his own realm. Moreover, if he continued, his primordial spirit consciousness and Tao heart would not be able to bear it. He arrived at the temporal formation at the center of Fu Yao's cavern dwelling. Shroud, Dongxinichen, and Dongxinchan were cultivating within the formation. Su Fong didn't alarm them, and he just entered the formation and sat down cross-legged. After that, Su Fong started to cultivate while sitting down cross-legged. He ceaselessly digested the things he'd comprehended and verified the Jiuxuan's limitless sutra to improve his cultivation. At the same time, he wantonly devoured medicinal pills and various other resources. His devouring speed was truly shocking. If it was any other cultivator at the Daolord realm, then they would be unable to endure the terrifying medicinal strength of 10 top-grade medicinal pills at once, and the slightest mistake might cause their energy to go out of control and cause their Dao Palace to collapse. However, Su Fong had actually devoured over 100 at once. It was mainly thanks to the Heaven Piercer Blood King vine. With the Heaven Piercer Blood King vine's ability to devour the medicinal strength before it seeped into Su Fong's body and was fused with by Su Fong before being guided into the Jiuxuan Dao Palace. So, he naturally didn't have to worry about the Dao Palace collapsing. Moreover, Su Fong's Jiuxuan Dao Palace was extremely vast and could accommodate everything. Su Fong didn't lack resources as well. The corpses of those cultivators from the Chrysalis clan and the medicine god Dao sect had given him so many medicinal pills. So, Su Fong naturally didn't have to worry about a lack of cultivation resources. However, Su Fong's Jiuxuan Dao Palace was extremely vast. It was like a bottomless pit, and its consumption was extremely shocking as well. Time flew by. Unknowingly, 50,000 years had passed by, while Su Fong was within the temporal formation within Fu Yao's manor. However, less than 1,000 years had passed in the outside world, and this was why Fu Yao's manor was so formidable. However, The consumption of divine stones while cultivating within Fuyao's manor was extremely shocking as well. Compared to the gains, all the consumption was worth it. During these years of cultivation, Su Fong had cultivated the Jiuxuan's limitless sutra to the peak of the 4th level. According to Su Fong's estimation, if he were to cultivate honestly, then it would probably take him at least 3 million years to attain such shocking heights. This was the shocking benefits that the heart of the alien race expert, Slayer, had brought to Su Fong. After inspecting the Jiuxuan Dao Palace, Su Fong was pleasantly surprised to find that not only had the Dao Palace become deeper and wider, but the wisp of chaotic aura in the center of the chaotic vortex had also become more solid and thick than before. Extraordinary, very extraordinary. With Slayer's heart, not only will my cultivation speed surpass that of any other genius, but it will also allow my future to be limitless. From now on, who will be able to stop Su Fong's sharpness? Although I lost senior brother Zhou Zhongsheng's rune talisman and a one-leaf vision concealment talisman to obtain this peerless treasure from the heaven-piercing Blood King vine, and also took a huge risk, it was all worth it. Su Fong's heart was brimming with joy. It was too incredible. Su Fong came from an ordinary background. Compared to the geniuses from the top factions of Jiuxuan's domain of the gods, his starting point was too low. With Slayer's heart, Su Fong would be on par with, or even surpass, any other genius. What could the other geniuses have? It was nothing more than extraordinary cultivation techniques, peerless divine abilities, supreme profound treasures, and resources. Su Fong could surpass most of the geniuses just by relying on Slaughter's heart alone. While Su Fong was cultivating, Gu Qianxi and Shu Chongxiao brought Goddess Luo to Square Sky City. On the way back, the three of them already knew about what happened to Su Fong in the Medicine God Path. When they arrived at Square Sky City and saw Su Fong, they were all pleasantly surprised. Venerable Qiyuan from the Qiyuan mystic world also came to Square Sky City to apologize to Xuanxin and Huatiannu in public. Venerable Qiyuan, who was originally extremely arrogant and domineering, was truly afraid after learning about Su Fongda's rampage in Stalwart Star City. He was no longer as arrogant and domineering as he was in the Qiyuan mystic world. Su Fong did not appear and continued to cultivate. Another 100,000 years passed in the flowing time formation. The Dao Palace was constantly expanding and becoming deeper. The primordial energy in the chaotic vortex was also increasing bit by bit. The sky-piercing Blood King vine was also transforming at the same time. The other avatars, as well as Gue, were constantly improving. After an unknown amount of time, Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes and flew out of the flowing time formation. As it turned out, under the continuous consolidation and accumulation, the Jiuxuan Dao Palace became restless. His Dao heart also began to sense it. His cultivation actually reached the peak of the upper Dao Lord realm, showing signs of breaking through to the Dao profound realm. Shixin Daozu suddenly said, Su Fong, you must suppress your cultivation. Don't advance to the Dao profound realm for the time being. Master, are you talking about the Jiuxuan Heaven Selection Finals? The geniuses participating in the Jiuxuan Heaven Selection were limited to cultivation below the Dao Lord realm, but there was no age restriction. Once one advanced to the Dao profound realm, they would lose the qualifications to continue participating in the Jiuxuan Heaven Selection. There are reasons why the Jiuxuan Heaven Selection limits the participants' cultivation. Why is that? Shixin Daozu spoke tirelessly. The purpose of the Jiuxuan Heaven Selection is to select true geniuses. Once the foreign races invade in the future, these geniuses will be the pillars that support the human race. And the Dao Lord realm is the most crucial realm for cultivators and also the foundation of great Dao cultivation. Great Dao cultivation is like building a tall building. If the foundation is not firm, although the speed of improvement is fast, it will be difficult to reach higher heights, and it might even collapse at any time. As long as the foundation is firm enough, not only will the building be tall, it will also be as stable as a boulder. Moreover, once one surpasses the Dao Lord realm, The cultivator's Tao cultivation will also be fixed from then on. Therefore, the vast majority of the genius disciples of major forces will do their best to suppress their cultivation to the peak of the Tao Lord realm. This is also the reason why the Jiuquan Heaven selection only selects Tao Lord geniuses. Su Fong nodded and said, "Looks like I can only do my best to suppress the advancement of my cultivation. Next, I will mainly focus on cultivating divine abilities." That's right, your life-shrinking technique, Heaven's evolution mystic solution, my master's 10-direction seal, extreme Tao Black Yang mantra. These divine abilities are all extraordinary. You need to concentrate on cultivating them. Only then can you increase your strength. As Su Fong's cultivation level increased, his ability to comprehend divine abilities would naturally multiply. The divine abilities he used would also become stronger, especially my master's 10-direction seal. He might even be able to learn new abilities from the heavenly secret life contraction technique and the heavenly secret mystic solution. In the Jiuquan finals, the opponents you will face will be the top geniuses of the Jiuquan divine realm. Although you have mastered many abilities, the way you use them is relatively messy, and it will be difficult for you to unleash the full power of your abilities. I will teach you a divine ability called the Formless Heavenly Wheel. Formless Heavenly Wheel, Chapter 2964. The Formless Heavenly Wheels. Shixian Daozu's strongest abhijna was naturally the most powerful abhijna in the Jiuquan divine realm. Buzz, 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 a wave of aura turned into words, densely entering Su Fong's consciousness. You cultivate the Jiuquan Limitless Sutra, so you cannot cultivate my formless way. But you can still cultivate my formless heavenly wheels. What is formless? Impermanence, formlessness, their formlessness. While I use formlessness as my way, it is actually formless. The ultimate goal of any great way is to seek the truth and essence of cultivation. And my formless heavenly wheels is a way to transform the supreme way of the heavens into supreme power. While it originates from the way of the formless, it is merged with all other great ways and is not limited to the way of the formless. Therefore, you can cultivate this supreme abhijna. Shixian Daozu said slowly. Every word contained boundless mysteries of the way of the heavens. Thinking about it carefully, Su Fong felt endless aftertaste, as if he had suddenly eaten a delicious meal. When Shixian Daozu's voice disappeared, the formless heavenly wheels merged with his mind. When Su Fong completely understood these words, he understood the power and wonders of this abhijna. The formless heavenly wheels used oneself as the way of the heavens, contained chaos, and nurtured the wheels of the way of the heavens. It used the true meaning and will of the great way to form different wheels of the way of the heavens. One thought could create a world and crush all other great ways. Once the enemy was trapped in the formless heavenly wheels, it was equivalent to being trapped in an indestructible but formless world. Because of this, the formless heavenly wheels could be used with any great way. The power of the formless heavenly wheels was different depending on the great way one cultivated. The formless heavenly wheels also contain the way of will visualization, using a powerful will to attack. The will was like the heavens and could suppress strong enemies. My master's 10-direction seal was a peerless abhijna created by other powerful cultivators. It was a derivation of other people's great ways. Su Fong could use it now. When he reached a certain level, it would not be difficult for him to use its greatest power. And the unique thing about the formless heavenly wheels was that it was like giving the cultivator a blank scroll. What kind of content could be drawn and what kind of level it could reach depended on the cultivator. Cultivating the formless heavenly wheels was like combining one's great way to create one's own abhijna. It just so happened that Su Fong could make use of this divine ability to unleash the abilities of all the Dharmakayas to the maximum. This was the great way. Su Fong's abhijna was not yet at his current level. Power. It was difficult to know. Su Fong at his current level. Level Su's was. No wonder Master didn't impart any other powerful abhijnas to me. He was prepared to impart the formless heavenly wheels to me. With this abhijna, I can unleash all my abilities to the maximum. Naturally, I don't need to cultivate any other abhijnas. Su Fong finally understood Shi Xian Daozu's intentions. Then, Su Fong returned to the time formation. He sealed the Jiuquan Dao Palace and suppressed the rise of his cultivation. Instead, he expanded the Jiuquan Dao Palace, causing it to become more profound and accumulate more primordial energy. At the same time, he separated streaks of consciousness to cultivate different abhijnas. With the increase of his cultivation level, coupled with the Heaven's Divination solution, Su Fong's ability to master divine abilities also increased. His Heavenly Secret Life contraction spell, Heavenly Secret Explanation, My Master's 10 Direction Seal, Extreme Black Yang Mantra, and other abhijnas also reached new heights. As for the formless heavenly wheels, Su Fong spent most of his energy on this supreme abhijna. But this abhijna was too unbelievable. To truly grasp its essence, he needed a long time to settle down. Time flew by in the boring cultivation. You had recovered from her injuries long ago. Dong Xinichin and Dong Xinchan had also finished their cultivation. Furthermore, they had all improved greatly. There was a great disadvantage to cultivating in the time formation. If one's Dao heart was not strong enough, and if one's cultivation was not high enough, then the difference in the flow of time would cause one's cultivation and Dao heart to become unstable and even collapse. Thus, the three of them left the Fuyao cavern abode, leaving Su Fong alone. Su Fong only ended his cultivation when there were less than 500 years to the Jiuquan Heavenly Selection Finals. Walking out of the time formation, Su Fong felt as if a lifetime had passed. The time spent in seclusion was too long. Then, a powerful time backlash attacked Su Fong. Su Fong used a divine aura to shatter it. His figure flashed for a moment before he returned to his normal state. Counting with his fingers, the time spent in cultivation had reached an astonishing 500,000 years. Su Fong had never cultivated in seclusion for such a long time. Looking at his physical body, he found that it had almost reached a withered state, and his spirit was also somewhat dispirited. After cultivating in seclusion for so long, the gains are truly astonishing. Although my cultivation is still at the peak of the Tao Lord level, my current strength is more than 10 times stronger than before. Su Fong revealed great confidence. Then he activated a stream of Xianyang power, which quickly spread to every corner of his body. It swept away the dispiritedness brought about by the long period of seclusion, and he became energetic again. Everyone, go to the conference hall. Su Fong transmitted a strand of immortal spirit thought to Qin Heng, Hua, Tiannu, and the others. He did not know when he would return from the Middle Xian continent. Before leaving, Su Fong had to make arrangements for Fong Tianqing. Qin Heng and the others followed Su Fong to the Middle Xian continent. With Su Fong's current strength, there was no need for them to do anything by his side. Once Su Fong found a suitable space-time and transformed the heavenly Tao avatar into the universe, Qin Heng and the others would guard the Fong Tianqing universe and protect Su Fong's family and friends. Su Fong originally intended to settle the heavenly Tao avatar in the eastern Xian divine domain, but because he was unable to find a suitable place and had many powerful enemies in the eastern Xian divine domain, he changed his mind in the end and found another space-time to store the heavenly Tao avatar. Hua Tiannu, Gao Tianlei, I'll leave Fong Tianqing City to you. Su Fong looked at Hua Tiannu and the other cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave race. Hua Tiannu cupped his fists and said, Su Fong, don't worry. We'll definitely guard Fong Tianqing City and become a place where the heaven-forsaken slave race can survive and develop. The other cultivators also cupped their fists towards Su Fong. Looking at Su Fong, their eyes were filled with gratitude and reluctance. With me around, Fong Tianqing City will exist. The sky of the heaven-forsaken slave race will not collapse. Su Fong nodded and said. Suddenly, Su Fong raised his eyebrows and a cold smile appeared on his lips. A guest is here. I'll go meet him. Su Fang's cultivation was only a step away from the Tao profound realm. As long as he was willing, he could break through at any time. His perfect physical body had also reached an unprecedented height. Other than his hearing, vision, and other senses becoming stronger, he also had an extremely miraculous ability of foresight. Just now, he naturally had a premonition that an expert was about to arrive at Fong Tianqing City. Immediately after, he sensed the Taoist sect master breaking through the air outside Fong Tianqing City. The Taoist sect master was the #1 expert in the heaven-forsaken desolate region. At this time, the power of Fong Tianqing City had already surpassed the Taoist sect. He was naturally extremely dissatisfied. Su Fong was in the eastern profound divine domain, so he did not dare to act rashly. Once Su Fong left, then it would be hard to say. This time, he must have come with the intention of probing. Su Fong took a step forward, and his figure broke through the air, causing many of the subordinates in the hall to exclaim in surprise. Only experts who had surpassed the Tao Master realm could travel through the void at will and use the ability of teleportation. Tao Master cultivators could only use the Xian Bao and rune talismans to do so. Su Fong used the ability of teleportation so calmly, causing many subordinates to suspect that his cultivation had already surpassed the limit of a Tao Master. Whoosh outside Fong Tianqing City, just as the Taoist sect master appeared, Su Fong broke through the air from 100 feet away. Young Master Su Fong. The Taoist sect master cupped his fists politely to Su Fong. About to head to the central profound divine realm, this one specially came to Fong Tianqing City to pick up young Master Su Fong. Pick me up? Su Fong revealed a smile that was not a smile, his gaze seemingly able to see through everything about the Taoist sect master. The Taoist sect master's heart jumped. Follow me. Su Fong slowly flew towards the sky. The Taoist sect master did not understand, but he did not dare to go against Su Fong's will and followed him to fly towards the sky. Su Fong nodded and said, I have been in closed-door cultivation for many years and have some gains. I was just about to find an expert to verify it. Taoist sect master, please enlighten me. The Taoist sect master turned pale with fright. Young Master Su Fong has a strength to cross realms and crush Tao profound experts. How can this one be your match? Taoist sect master is not giving face. This one does not dare, but not caring whether the Taoist sect master agreed or not, Su Fong shouted coldly, Be careful. Following that, Su Fong's gaze shrouded the Taoist sect master, and a burst of willpower suddenly erupted. In an instant, the scene around the Taoist sect master changed greatly. He was trapped in a series of giant wheels. Each wheel was a world. As the giant wheels spun, it was as if the wheels of heaven were spinning, growing and multiplying endlessly, forever reincarnating. Within the wheels, there was a supreme willpower that controlled the heavens and the earth, dominating the 10,000 worlds, crushing everything. Willpower visualization technique. The Taoist sect master turned pale with fright and hurriedly used his willpower to attack, attempting to break those wheels. Who would have thought that just as his powerful willpower attack shattered the heavenly wheels one after another, they would immediately reform, becoming indestructible and boundless. Seeing that he was about to be crushed by the countless wheels, the Taoist sect master felt despair and fear. He shouted loudly, Young Master Su Fong, please spare my life. Whoosh, the wheels quickly turned into nothingness, disappearing into the void like a gust of wind. The Taoist sect master trembled, feeling as if he had walked on the edge of life and death. The formless heavenly wheel is indeed a peerless abhijna. I merely visualized it with my will, and I was able to crush the Taoist sect leader, a Tao Xian elite. If I cast it with my Dharmakaya mind, the power would be beyond my imagination. Su Fong was shocked as well, then overjoyed. Looking at the Taoist sect master, Su Fong said indifferently, I only wanted to test the skill and have frightened the Taoist sect master. I'm about to leave Dongxian. Please take care of Fong Tianqing, Lord Sect Master. The Taoist sect master then understood that Su Fong was giving him a warning before he left. He could not help chuckling bitterly, but at the same time, he was extremely shocked. Don't worry, young Master Su Fong. If anything happens to Fong Tianqing, the Taoist sect will do our best. If Fong Tianqing is annihilated, the Taoist sect will not survive alone. The Taoist sect master quickly guaranteed. The Taoist sect master had witnessed Su Fong's tyranny many times. He estimated that if he did not express his stance clearly, Su Fong would probably annihilate him and the Taoist sect directly, allowing Fong Tianqing to dominate the heaven-forsaken barren region. That's great. As Su Fong nodded, he tossed a storage ring to the Taoist sect master. There were 100,000 upper-class pills in it. Chapter 2965. There were still 300 years until the finals of the Jiuquan Heavenly Selection. 1,000 geniuses of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain gathered in the plaza of Dallas City's Mayor's Manor. Everyone was very excited and expectant, but there were also many who were very nervous. For most of the cultivators, this was their first time leaving the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. Moreover, they weren't going sightseeing this time, but competing with the geniuses of the other divine domains. The geniuses were naturally looking forward to it and were very nervous. Su Fong and Sima Xiao, the two Dongxian geniuses who were tied for first place, stood side by side at the front. After Su Fong's cultivation base had reached the peak of the upper Tao Lord realm, his senses had become even more shocking. He found that Sima Xiao's aura had become even more powerful. She had probably merged with the extraordinary flame with the help of the medicinal pill, greatly increasing her strength. Sima Xiao sensed something and looked at Su Fong. Su Fong, thank you for the medicine god path's matter. Su Fong replied faintly, It's nothing, don't take it to heart. Just don't treat me, Su Fong, as an enemy in the future. If we meet again in the finals of the intermediate Xian Divine Domain, I won't give in. Don't blame me for being ungrateful then. I won't be merciful just because you're a woman. Seeing the two of them talking in public, other than the South Xian cultivators, the other geniuses were shocked. Weren't the two of them incompatible like fire and water? Had something happened in the past few years? At this time, Gu Qianqi's consciousness suddenly appeared. Su Fong, don't tell me you've buried the hatchet with Sima Xiao and set fire to it. Su Fong replied bluntly, Scram. More than 30 figures walked out of the void, and the plaza immediately quieted down. The three people in the lead were the three Jiuquan experts who were hosting the finals of the Blood Valley. Behind them were the experts of the Eastern Xian Pavilion, led by Tua Qianji. They were taking 1,000 geniuses to the Central Xian Divine Domain to participate in the finals. Su Fong found a familiar figure among the Heaven Pavilion experts. It was actually Kuei Ziyu. Who would have thought that the youngest elder of the Heavenly Pavilion, Kuei Ziyu, would also be heading to the Central Profound Divine Domain? He made Kuei Ziyu lose face in the Medicine God path. I have to be careful of this person when I come to the Middle Mystic Continent. Su Fong was on guard. Tua Qianji briefly reminded the geniuses of a few things to pay attention to. Then he used his divine power to envelop the geniuses and directly entered the inner space of the Blood Valley. Many geniuses left the Eastern Profound Divine Realm through the giant profound door in the sky above the Blood Valley. He felt as if he had traveled through endless time and space. The pressure of space and time were constantly attacking him. Even with Su Fong's strength, he could not bear it. He had no choice but to put up a defense and guard his Tao heart. No one knew how much time had passed. Su Fong suddenly felt his body regain its weight as the shackles of the sealed world instantly enveloped his body. He opened his eyes and looked over. He did not expect to appear in a starry sky. Looking around, the sky was filled with stars. Su Fong asked in astonishment, This is the Central Profound Divine Domain. Yes, this is the most prosperous and powerful Central Profound Divine Domain of the human race's 9 great divine domains. However, what you see is just the vast starry sky of the Central Profound Divine Domain. It is not the real Central Profound Divine Domain. Tua Qianji replied. looking at Su Fong with surprise. Coming here from the eastern profound Blood Valley, through the domain crossing profound door, even some of the weaker heavenly pavilion elders felt slightly uncomfortable. Some of the other geniuses had yet to recover their consciousness. Sima Xiaoxiao's face also looked a little pale. However, Su Fong looked as if nothing had happened, which naturally surprised Tua Qinji. "Come on up." A Jiuquan expert waved his hand and rolled out a flying carpet. It looked to be only 1 square foot. He waved his sleeve and swept the geniuses into it. Only then did the geniuses realize that the flying carpet was incomparably vast and could accommodate 10,000 people. Then, the Jiuquan expert urged the flying carpet to break through the sky. When he reappeared, he was at the periphery of a vast galaxy. The stars in the galaxy were bright and boundless. The entire galaxy was roughly divided into 5 regions. No one knew how many stars there were and how many lives lived on those stars. That is the central profound divine domain. However, what we can see is only a small part of it. Most of the people living on those stars are mortals and low-level cultivators belonging to the 5 divine races. As for the people of the 5 divine races, they live in the space-time planes in the depths of the galaxy. The central profound divine domain is filled with experts. No other divine domain can be compared to it. Even the most mysterious heaven's fate stage is in the central profound divine domain. In the depths of the galaxy, there are countless hidden experts. There are even peerless existences comparable to the Daozu. Tua Qinji patiently explained to the geniuses. Those geniuses who had never been to the central profound divine domain were shocked. The finals of the central profound divine domain will be held at the culmination divine capital in the depths of the galaxy. With the speed of my Xian Bao, it will take me a few decades to reach the culmination divine capital. You can use this time to recover, the Jiuquan expert said to the geniuses in a deep voice. Then, he urged the flying carpet to fly into the sky once again. About 30 years later, the flying carpet appeared in the depths of the galaxy. The Jiuquan expert pushed the flying carpet to the extreme. Endless starlight rushed towards him, and layers of illusions appeared in front of him. When everything returned to normal, the flying carpet appeared in the air above a huge floating city. This city was comparable to a small mystic world. In fact, it was formed by floating buildings in the void. There were no walls or anything like that. The vast and boundless buildings couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Between the buildings and in the air, there were countless cultivators on Xian Bao and carriages coming and going. It was very lively. Su Fong was shocked again when he sensed the cultivators. Among the cultivators he sensed, there were Tao Lords everywhere. He even sensed a peerless existence that was comparable to the Wine Saint. In the center of the city, there was a tall and majestic palace floating in the air. The palace was huge. In addition, it was surrounded by a dense nebula. Only a small part of the palace and the eaves that extended from the nebula could be seen. It looked very mysterious and dignified. That is the central profound divine domain's culmination divine tower. You will stay there during your time in the central profound divine domain. The finals will also be held in the culmination divine tower. After the Jiuquan expert introduced the place to the geniuses, he urged the flying carpet to fly towards the heavenly palace. On the way, Su Fong used his eyes to let his family and friends in the Heaven's Path avatar see through his eyes. Witnessing the most prosperous cultivation civilization of the entire human race, everyone was shocked. Cries of surprise rose and fell one after another. Even Su Fong's eyes were overwhelmed. He looked like a country bumpkin who had just entered the city. Kue Ziyu sneered with disdain. It took more than 10 days for the flying carpet to arrive outside the heavenly palace. The Jiuquan expert released a strand of his consciousness. A moment later, a divine aura swept out from the boundary and sucked the flying carpet in. When the flying carpet reappeared, it was above a cluster of pavilions. The Jiuquan expert pointed at the pavilions below and said, "These pavilions below are where you will stay. These are your identity medallions. Carry them with you. If there's anything you can contact me directly through the medallions. The Jiuquan expert waved his hand and swept out medallions, which flew to the geniuses. The geniuses grabbed the medallions and flew out of the flying carpet towards the pavilions. The medallions released a divine aura automatically, guiding the geniuses to their respective pavilions. The pavilions that the geniuses stayed in were obviously arranged according to their ranking in the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. The higher the ranking, the more central the pavilion they stayed in, and the more elegant the environment there was. Not only Dongxian cultivators, but geniuses from other divine domains also stayed in this area of pavilions. Some of the pavilions were still empty, while others were occupied. The arrival of Dongxian cultivators attracted a lot of attention. Su Fong used the medallion's guidance to fly deeper and finally came to a pavilion. This pavilion was obviously different from the others. Not only was it more exquisite and luxuriously decorated, there was also a sizable garden outside. Su Fong scanned the area and found that there were a total of 9 pavilions like this in the central area. Obviously, these pavilions were prepared for the champion of the Jiuquan divine domain. Su Fong suddenly realized something and couldn't help raising his eyebrows. There were a total of 9 pavilions, one for each divine domain's champion. The 2 champions of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain were tied together. Didn't that mean that Su Fong and Sima Xiao had to stay on the same floor? Su Fong rubbed his nose and laughed bitterly in his heart. It's best that the pavilion that belongs to the champion of the Southern Profound Divine Domain is empty. Sima Xiao has been arranged to stay there. As expected, Sima Xiao flew over and landed behind Su Fong. Sima Xiao also realized the same awkwardness and was startled. She then said, "Su Fong, you're staying with the other Dongxian geniuses." Su Fong raised his eyebrows. "Why can't you stay on the same floor as the other Southern Profound cultivators?" Sima Xiao snorted. "I'm a woman. You have to give in to me. Besides, staying with you will damage my reputation. Everyone knows about your character. How can I be at ease living with you?" Su Fong was inwardly furious. Suddenly, a dozen cultivators walked out of a pavilion on the right. Seeing Sima Xiao, a young man walked over. Sima Xiao. The young man was well-built, but his appearance was not complimentary. He had an ugly, horse-like face. Looking at Sima Xiao, the horse-faced man continued, "I heard that you've won first place in the Eastern Profound Divine Domain." Sima Xiao said indifferently, "So what?" The young man sneered disdainfully. "There's no one else in the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. You actually got first place. If I had known, I would have gone to the Eastern Profound Divine Domain instead of coming to the Middle Profound Divine Domain and only getting 21st place. Otherwise, I would also be able to stay in the best pavilion and show off." Sima Xiao said coldly, "Peng Yin, you came to me just to show off your ranking?" The young man named Peng Yin had a murderous look in his eyes as he said eerily, "Of course not. I came here to tell you that you killed my younger brother, Peng Bo, in the South Mystic 9 Profound Heaven Selection. In the Intermediate Mystic Finals, I will definitely make you pay with your blood." Chapter 2966. Peng Yan's gaze swept over Su Fong as he mocked Sima Xiao. "Is this person your lover? I didn't expect you to hook up with a lover after a trip to Dongxian. But your lover isn't much." Su Fong raised his eyebrows. He did not expect Peng Yin to draw the flames of war to him for no reason. "I asked you to scram." A sharp glint flashed in Sima Xiao's eyes as a powerful willpower that could incinerate everything swept out with a loud rumble. Peng Yin had thought that he was at the same height as Sima Xiao. In addition, he was caught off guard. His Dao heart was impacted by the force of will. He felt like he was burning and could not help but cry out in pain. This person is really despicable. He's not strong enough, but he still came to provoke Sima Xiao. He only has himself to blame for the loss. Su Fong shook his head with a smile. Sima Xiao snorted coldly and activated her token. She passed through the barrier in a flash and entered the pavilion. This B***TCH's ability is much stronger than before after a trip to Dongxian. Peng Yin was shocked and enraged. His gaze towards the pavilion was filled with dread. When he turned around and saw the smile on Su Fong's face, he immediately vented his anger on Su Fong. "Child, how dare you mock me?" Su Fong frowned, but did not say anything. Who would have thought that Peng Yin thought that Su Fong was afraid, and his arrogance suddenly became arrogant. "And who the hell are you? You think that just because you have Sima Xiaoxiao's thigh, you dare to mock me? You're seeking death." Su Fong did not expect this person to not only have a foul mouth, but also someone who bullied the weak and feared the strong. He said indifferently, "Shouldn't a joke like you be laughed at? How dare you look down on me? I'll break your Dao heart." Peng Yin roared furiously. Boom! Peng Yin used the will visualization technique, and the illusory flame of will enveloped Su Fong. A will that could incinerate and melt everything enveloped Su Fong's Dao heart. This person was so ruthless that he planned to break Su Fong's Dao heart directly. Scram! With a thought from Su Fong, the 7 colors Vajra Dao heart trembled and shattered the will attack. Then, using the will visualization technique, an illusory blood light condensed from the will of slaughter slashed out fiercely, shattering the surrounding flames of will of slaughter and wrapping around Peng Yan's body. Crack! The blood prison, soul-severing saber landed on Peng Yan's Dao heart, causing cracks to appear in his Dao heart. His will and quintessent soul were impacted by the slaughter will, and he felt as if he'd fallen into a bloody hell of slaughter. His entire body trembled while his eyes were filled with terror. The cultivators with Peng Yin yelled furiously. The young man in the lead unleashed his power of will, which instantly descended. Su Fong could see with his primordial spirit that the young man's willpower had condensed into a talisman. Streaks of divine inscriptions intertwined on it, releasing a sealing might that sought to seal Su Fong's Dao heart. What a strange and powerful will visualization technique. Su Fong's heart skipped a beat, not daring to be careless. He pushed his slaughter will to the limit and used the blood prison soul slashing blade. Boom! The illusory willpower attacks collided, giving off an earth-shattering aura. A talisman formed by the blood prison, soul, slashing blade, and willpower? After the collision, the blade radiance shattered, and the blood prison collapsed. That talisman? The willpower attack didn't diminish, and it continued to impact Su Fong's Dao heart. Su Fong staggered, and his 7 colors Vajra Dao heart emitted a 7-color glow, which neutralized the willpower attack. This person is an expert. His strength is even greater than Sima Xiaoxiao's. Su Fong stared at the young man as if he was facing a formidable enemy. The young man's appearance was extremely strange. He had a head of red hair, and there were streaks of divine inscriptions on his face. This person's aura was illusory, and it felt as if he had merged with the surrounding void. Such an extraordinary person's strength wasn't any weaker than Heartbreaker. The young man didn't expect Su Fong to be able to withstand his willpower attack, and a strange divine inscriptions appeared in his eyes. He was about to unleash an even fiercer attack on Su Fong. Suddenly, a majestic voice suddenly sounded. "No fighting before the finals. Otherwise, you will be severely punished." A powerful willpower suddenly descended. Su Fong and the other cultivators were shackled, and they couldn't resist the terrifying willpower. They trembled under the pressure of the willpower. After a while, the willpower slowly dissipated. The young man who attacked Su Fong looked at Su Fong and shouted coldly, "You're a little too ruthless." Su Fong replied bluntly, "Are you saying that Peng Yin should cripple my Dao heart?" The young man shouted domineeringly, "Peng Yin is my junior brother. Injuring his Dao heart is equivalent to ruining his future. How can I tolerate such a vicious person? Remember my name, Feng Daocheng of the Imperial Sky Divine Region. I'm the strongest in the Jiuxuan Heaven's chosen realm. You'd better pray that you don't meet me in the finals." The Imperial Sky Divine Region. It was also one of the 9 great divine regions. Their overall strength wasn't as strong as the Eastern Profound Divine Region, but because the Imperial Sky Divine Region cultivated a unique Grand Tao, Their divine abilities were powerful, and they produced many experts. The strongest in the imperial sky divine region naturally had astonishing talent and strength. Feng Daocheng of the imperial sky divine region. I'll remember this name. Su Fong smiled casually. He activated the token in his hand and released a Xianguang that landed on the barrier. The barrier automatically opened a door, and Su Fong appeared in the garden in front of the pavilion. Peng Yin gnashed his teeth and shouted, "Useless freeloader, who don't even dare to say your name?" Freeloader? Peng Yin really thought that Su Fong was related to Sima Xiao Xiao. Su Fong frowned and said indifferently, "Su Fong of the Eastern Profound Divine Region. I'm the strongest in the Jiuxuan Heavens Chosen Realm." After saying that, Su Fong calmly walked into the pavilion. Su Fong? I've never heard of him. I heard that during the ranking battle, the Blood Valley was destroyed by a foreign race. That's why there are two people tied for first place. It looks like it's Sima Xiao Xiao and this person. Are all the geniuses of the Eastern Profound Divine Region dead? How did this person get first place? The cultivators from the Royal Heaven Divine Realm were surprised and started discussing among themselves. Peng Yin said to Feng Daocheng, "Senior brother Daocheng, my Dao heart was damaged, and it'll be very difficult for me to recover before the Jiuxuan Heaven's Chosen Realm. I have to take revenge, so you must uphold justice for me, no matter what." Feng Daocheng snorted. This person is on par with Sima Xiao Xiao, so he's definitely not a mediocre person. However, he dared to hurt someone from my Imperial Sky Divine Region. How can I let him go in the finals? Su Fong walked into the pavilion and saw that Sima Xiao Xiao had already gone up to the second floor and was setting up a barrier at the entrance. Su Fong smiled and didn't pay much attention to it. He walked into the room on the first floor. There is still more than 200 years until the Jiuxuan Heaven's Chosen Realm. Su Fong used this time to continue cultivating his divine arts in the Fuyao Cave. After hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation in Fangtian City, Su Fong's cultivation and various divine arts had reached astonishing heights. It wasn't just the formless heavenly wheels. His master's 10 directions seal, yang cultivation mystic technique, and other abhijanas, as well as the way to use the primordial chaos, had all improved tremendously. He had also comprehended new ways to use the yang cultivation mystic technique. Su Fong also wanted to make further breakthroughs in his various divine arts before the Jiuxuan Heaven's Chosen Realm officially began. After living in the pavilion for 50 years, Su Fong had cultivated in the Fuyao Cave for 3,000 years. On this day, bang! Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes. The space between his eyebrows also split open and turned into a vertical eye. Mysterious Xian Guang surged in all 3 eyes at the same time, releasing an astonishing aura of divination. Su Fong looked through the window and saw a red-billed sparrow perched on a tree branch outside. The Xian Guang in all 3 eyes flickered repeatedly. Vast amounts of information flooded into his mind in an instant. In an instant, billions of divinations were carried out. The vertical eye between his brows constantly changed images. It was the scene of the red-billed sparrow jumping around on the tree branch. This continued for 10 breaths of time. The Xian Guang in Su Fong's eyes disappeared. His eyes turned crimson red, and his spirit seemed to be slightly dispirited. The red-billed sparrow perched on the tree branch seemed to have sensed something. It flew off the tree branch and jumped around. It was the scene that Su Fong's vertical eye had just shown. In other words, Su Fong had actually seen the future. Su Fong revealed a brilliant smile. The eye of the future. It turned out that he'd cultivated a new ability from the Heavens Evolution Solution. It was called the Eye of the Future. Using this divine art, he could see through the past and the future. Not only could he see the past and future changes of everything, but he could also see the enemy's divine arts and Dao techniques. The Eye of the Future was somewhat similar to Su Fong's self-created heavenly fate mediating technique. The Great Dao was interconnected. Unlike the heavenly fate mediating technique, the Eye of the Future could only see through the past and the future. It couldn't reverse anything. However, Using the Eye of the Future consumed Su Fong much less than using the Heavenly Fate mediating technique. Every time he used the Heavenly Fate mediating technique, not only did it consume his lifespan, it also consumed an astonishing amount of luck. Unless it was a matter of life and death, Su Fong wouldn't use it. Using the Eye of the Future also consumed a bit of luck. As long as he didn't use it continuously, it was completely within an acceptable range. He didn't have to worry about the Heavenly Fate mediating technique. With this divine art, what the enemy wants to do, as well as their divine arts, will all be within my grasp. This way, my chances of winning in the finals will be even greater. Coupled with other powerful divine arts, it'll be easy for me to enter the top 100 in the finals. Furthermore, since the Eye of the Future can see through the future, I can control the future and change it. Having obtained a powerful technique, Su Fong was very happy. In addition, Su Fong's control over the use of primordial energy had become even more adept. In terms of true power, it surpassed even my master's 10-direction seal and the formless heavenly wheel. It was currently Su Fong's most powerful trump card. He also thought of Shi Xian Daozu's promise. Su Fong transmitted his thoughts to Shi Xian Daozu. Master, you once promised me that if I could enter the top 100 in the Zhoushuan Heavenly Selection Finals, you would help Xuanxin become a disciple of an expert. Do you think your master will go back on his word? Your disciple wouldn't dare. Don't worry, your master has already made arrangements. That expert is in the central profound divine domain. After the finals, your master will naturally fulfill his promise. Su Fong immediately felt reassured. Chapter 2967. You really have many women. Before, you found a master for Shu Wanjin. Now it is Xuanxin. You are not satisfied. Now you have another goddess Luo. What do you think your master does? Su Fong smiled embarrassedly and did not dare to make a sound. With Shi Xian Daozu's status, it was naturally easy for him to ask a peerless expert to take him as a disciple. Yet Shi Xian Daozu owed the other a favor for this. Shi Xian Daozu's favor was extraordinary. It was not easy for him to help Shu Wanjin and Xuanxin. Su Fong wanted Shi Xian Daozu to help Goddess Luo. He was asking for a yard when given an inch. Shi Xian Daozu continued, that Goddess Luo's situation is slightly special. It is difficult to find an expert to be her master. It will depend on her luck. Let's talk about it in the future. Many thanks, Master. He finished his conversation with Shi Xian Daozu. Suddenly, a loud rumbling sound came from outside the pavilion. The enchantment shook violently. Someone was attacking the enchantment. Sensing power was projected. It was a youth who had used a lightning spell to attack the boundary and caused a great disturbance. Su Fong did not recognize this person. This was the residence of the geniuses of the Divine Lands. Only people from the 5 Shin races would dare to be so arrogant. Su Fong's eyebrows rose like swords. His body flashed and disappeared from the room, passing through the boundary. Sima Xiaoxiao was also disturbed and followed outside the pavilion. A youth with an arrogant expression stood outside the pavilion. Divine light swept over Su Fong and Sima Xiaoxiao. He said proudly, "You two are the best of the Jiushuan's Heaven's Choice of Dongxian Divine Land?" Sima Xiaoxiao said coldly, "Yes." "Who are you, and why are you attacking the boundary and disturbing my cultivation?" She had been cultivating in the pavilion just now and had been disturbed by this person. Naturally, she was furious and her tone was unfriendly. The youth said, "This seat is Huzhan. On the orders of the Tao of the 5 Shin races, I invite you to attend a banquet at New Moon Pavilion at noon tomorrow. I called you a few times just now, but no one answered, so I had no choice but to make some noise." The Taoists of the 5 god clans? The so-called Tao children were the disciples that the 5 major god clans focused on nurturing. There was a Tao child in every realm. Their talent and strength were the best in their realm. The Tao lords of the 5 great divine clans were naturally the number 1 geniuses amongst the Tao lords of the 5 great divine clans, and their identities and strengths were extremely extraordinary. Who would have thought that they would join hands to hold a banquet and invite Su Fong and Sima Xiaoxiao? Of course, they wouldn't just invite the two of them. They didn't have that much influence. Instead, they invited the top geniuses of the 9 divine realms. The status of the Taoists of the 5 god clans is extremely honorable. Only the top geniuses of the various god clans are qualified to attend the banquet that they are jointly hosting. Remember, before you attend the banquet tomorrow, you must burn incense, bathe, and dress up. Don't embarrass the 5 Taoists. Hu Zhen glanced at Su Fong and Sima Xiao with disdain. His high and mighty appearance was like a city dweller looking at 2 bumpkins from the countryside. After that, he looked at Su Fong and said indifferently, "You're Su Fong, right? I heard that you offended young Master Yu Fei in the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. If you don't want to die in the Central Profound Divine Domain, then tomorrow is a good opportunity. Obediently kneel and kowtow to the Tao Lords of my clan and ask them to speak on your behalf." Su Fong's cold brows swept over. "The Tao Lords of the 5 great divine clans sent you here to deliver the message. You're just an errand boy, yet you're so arrogant. Who people are all arrogant and conceited people like you who don't know etiquette? Errand boy." The corners of Sima Zhao's mouth curled up slightly to reveal a wisp of a smile. The arrogance and haughtiness on Hu Zhen's face instantly transformed into rage. "Out of consideration for your hard work, I'll reward you with these medicinal pills." Su Fong waved his hand and swept out 10 high-grade medicinal pills towards Hu Zhen, and then he left in embarrassment. He wasn't a domineering and arrogant person. However, Hu Zhen's arrogance and rudeness was clearly due to Hu Yufei's matter. He was deliberately provoking Su Fong, so Su Fong naturally wouldn't be polite to him. "Since Su Fong has rewarded you, then I won't reward you anymore." Sima Xiao returned to the pavilion with a smile. "How dare you humiliate this seat like this? You're courting death." Hu Zhen's gaze shattered the medicinal pills, and violent lightning surged out from his body. However, he still had some reservations and didn't dare to be too arrogant here. In the end, he left with a heart full of anger. The next day, Su Fong and Sima Xiao left the pavilion and headed straight for New Moon Pavilion. New Moon Pavilion was located in the Culmination God Watchtower. It was a place where the cultivators of the Culmination God Watchtower drank and gathered. It wasn't far from where many geniuses lived. Soon, they arrived in front of a tall building. The building was surrounded by clouds and mist, hazy and illusory. A bright and clear divine moon hung in the sky. This should be how New Moon Pavilion got its name. At the entrance of New Moon Pavilion, the attendant asked the two of them why they had come, and then led them into the pavilion. After passing through layers of barriers, they arrived in front of a lake in the depths of New Moon Pavilion. The water in the lake was no ordinary lake water. It was formed by the convergence of spiritual energy and exuded a boundless amount of spiritual energy. From time to time, fish would leap out of the lake surface, and all kinds of divine birds would fly across the lake surface, letting out crisp and melodious cries. It was a magnificent scene. Floating platforms floated on the lake surface, all the way to a pavilion in the center of the lake. Clouds and mist curled around the pavilion, and the environment was elegant. The sound of stringed and woodwind instruments could be heard constantly. From the lakeside, one could see the scene inside. There were already many cultivators inside, chatting loudly and drinking wine. Su Fong and Sima Xiao were about to step onto the floating platform and head to the pavilion when 2 young cultivators stopped Su Fong and Sima Xiao. A young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes asked, "Geniuses, please state your names." Su Fong said, "Eastern Profound Divine Domain, Su Fong, Sima Xiao. Both of you are from the Eastern Profound Divine Domain." The young man looked surprised, and then said politely, "The Taoists of the 5 divine tribes are only inviting the champion of the Joshuan heavens, chosen ones of the 9 divine domains, as well as some famous geniuses." Sima Xiao said coldly, "The 2 of us are tied for first place in Dongxian." The young man looked apologetic. "I see. I'm sorry, but the Eastern Profound Divine Domain only has 1 slot. Only one of you can enter." The other young man in blue next to him sneered disdainfully. The banquet hosted by the five Taoists is not a place anyone can sneak in. Why don't you leave quickly? At this time, Hu Zhen's disdainful sneer came from the pavilion. This seat forgot to tell you yesterday that only one person from the Eastern Profound Divine Domain has been invited by the five Taoists. Su Fong and Sima Xiao Zhao's faces darkened. It was obvious that Hu Zhen was deliberately toying with them. Of course, his main target was Su Fong. Waves of laughter came from the pavilion, mixed with some sarcastic remarks. I heard that the top geniuses of the Eastern Profound Divine Pavilion have all gone to other divine domains, but their results were not ideal. The champion of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain has been taken advantage of by these two nobodies. They may be considered powerful figures in the Eastern Profound Divine Domain, but in Intermediate Profound, even a divine dragon has to lie low. They actually want to participate in the banquet hosted by the five Taoists. What a joke. Sima Zhao's cold brows furrowed. Just as she was about to fly into a rage, Su Fong said casually, "It's just a banquet. It's fine if you don't participate. Go in, I'm going back." After that, Su Fong walked out of the New Moon brothel. Suddenly, in the pavilion, a young man holding a folding fan said, "Since you're here, come in for a gathering. Otherwise, if this matter spreads, others will think that the five divine tribes are neglecting the geniuses of other divine domains." The young man with thick brows and big eyes said to Su Fong, "Since young Master Li Shaoran has spoken, you can participate in the banquet." Li Shaoran? The corners of Su Fong's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He stepped onto the floating platform with Sima Xiao and entered the interior of the pavilion. The interior of the pavilion was extremely spacious. There were more than 20 cultivators, all of them exuding an extraordinary air of nobility. There was a table in front of each of them, and there were dozens of tables that were empty. There were a total of 5 thrones in the host seat. 4 of them were already seated. They were obviously the 4 Taoists of the 5 divine tribes. All of them were extraordinarily handsome and exuded an air of nobility. The moment Su Fong and Sima Xiao entered the pavilion, an attendant immediately led Sima Xiao to one of the thrones. Su Fong, however, was ignored. He was left alone in the cold. It was obvious that they were deliberately trying to embarrass him. Many of the cultivators in the pavilion were looking at Su Fong as if they were watching a monkey being played. Hu Zhen said with a smile, "Su Fong, you're lucky. Young Master Li Shaoran has spoken, so you're qualified to participate in this banquet. However, the seats for the banquet have been reserved in advance. Naturally, there's no place for you. You'd better stand aside and watch." Some of the cultivators laughed, waiting to see Su Fong fly into a rage or leave in anger. Su Fong looked at the youth holding a folding fan and walked over. "You invited me in just now, but didn't arrange a seat for me. Are you deliberately playing with me?" The youth opened his folding fan with a pop and fanned himself a few times. He looked at Su Fong with contempt. "So what if I'm playing with you? A lowly heaven-forsaken slave clan like you. Aren't you just a toy for others?" This youth was called Li Shaoran. He was naturally a disciple of the Li clan of the 5 divine tribes. Li Sheng had followed Yi Feishuan to the Eastern Xian divine domain to participate in the finals of the Blood Valley. In the end, he killed Ling Xingxian in the Su Ruo Valley. Not only was he kicked out of the Blood Valley, but he was also severely punished for violating the rules of the Jiushuan's Chosen One. Li Shaoran clearly blamed all of this on Su Fong. It wasn't strange for him to deliberately humiliate Su Fong. Su Fong said indifferently, "Do you know what the consequences of humiliating me, Su Fong?" Li Shaoran laughed. "Don't tell me you're going to cry and make a fuss at this banquet. Then I'll be really scared." The other geniuses roared with laughter. Su Fong suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed Li Shaoran's collar. "You're courting death." Li Shaoran sneered disdainfully. The folding fan in his hand rolled out a vast and fierce magic power that swept towards Su Fong. However, Su Fong's palm surged with a chaotic aura and shattered the attack of Xianbao. His palm directly grabbed Li Shaoran's neck. Chapter 2968. Splash! Li Shaoran was thrown into the lake by Su Fong. the water splashing everywhere as he sank to the bottom of the lake. It turned out that Su Fong had activated the primordial qi and easily defeated Li Xiaoran's attack, then shackled his Dao palace and physical body. Li Xiaoran could not use his strength and could only sink to the bottom of the lake. The attendants in the pavilion quickly jumped into the water and scooped Li Xiaoran up from the lake. The lake water was condensed from spiritual qi, but Li Xiaoran did not have the fortune to enjoy it. He was filled to the brim, almost bursting to death. His stomach was bloated like a balloon. The geniuses in the pavilion were astounded. Their gazes towards Su Fong were filled with surprise and astonishment. The cultivators who could enter this pavilion and participate in the banquet hosted by the Taoists of the 5 major divine families were naturally not ordinary people. Li Xiaoran was the same. In the central profound divine domains, Jiuquan Heaven's Chosen, Li Xiaoran was ranked in the top 50 and was also a famous genius of the Li clan. It was unbelievable that Su Fong had grabbed him like a chicken and thrown him away. In the minds of many geniuses, Su Fong's title as Dongshuan's top genius was too weak, because the top geniuses of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain did not participate in the Jiuquan Heaven's Chosen at the Blood Valley. He was not even as good as the top 50 of the Central Profound Divine Domain. Sima Xiao Xiao was a woman, so it was inevitable that she would be looked down upon. Su Fong was tied with her in first place, so it was not hard to imagine that Su Fong's strength was also ordinary. It was purely luck that he had won first place. In addition, Su Fong had offended the Hu Yi, Li, and Ming divine families of the Central Profound Divine Domain's 5 divine families. The geniuses of the 5 divine families had humiliated Su Fong at the banquet. So many geniuses had added insult to injury, treating Su Fong like a monkey. When Su Fong punished Li Xiaoran, the crowd immediately stopped looking down on him. There was no longer a trace of mockery or ridicule in their eyes when they looked at Su Fong. The smile on Hu Zhen's face froze, and his eyes were filled with horror. In terms of strength, Hu Zhen was inferior to Li Xiaoran. However, Li Xiaoran was like a weak chicken in the hands of Su Fong. How could he not be shocked and frightened? The 4 Taoists who were overseeing the banquet originally looked calm and collected, but at this moment, they were also looking at Su Fong in surprise. Su Fong casually smiled and walked over to Hu Zhen's position. "Are you done laughing? Have you had enough?" Hu Zhen's heart was greatly shaken. He stood up from his throne and was fully on guard against Su Fong. Su Fong displayed an aggressive aura and shouted domineeringly, "You can attack me and kill me. That's because I'm not strong enough, but you used your power to humiliate me. How can I tolerate you? I want you to know that those who humiliate others will only be humiliating themselves. Are you going to get out yourself, or do you want me to throw you out?" Hu Zhen's heart was already timid, but he immediately thought of his identity and the occasion at this time, and his courage was immediately boosted. When he thought of how Su Fong made a sneak attack and caused Li Xiaoran to suffer a great loss, and it was not because of Su Fong's amazing strength, the fear in his heart suddenly disappeared. He immediately sneered disdainfully. "I'm right here. Throw me out if you have the ability." "As you wish." Su Fong waved his hand again. A chaotic aura swept out from his palm and turned into an aura field that enveloped Hu Zhen. Hu Zhen was shocked to find that in Su Fong's aura field, his mana was difficult to operate, and his thoughts were difficult to condense. He had lost all connection with the surrounding space and was completely shackled. Only then did he understand why Li Xiaoran was like a chicken in the hands of Su Fong, unable to resist. In the midst of the stone fire, Su Fong grabbed Hu Zhen's neck and threw him directly into the lake like Li Xiaoran. The lake water rippled again, and countless divine birds flew away. In the pavilion, many cultivators were shocked again, and the way they looked at Su Fong changed again. "Arrogant!" A purple-robed youth suddenly shouted coldly, breaking the silence in the pavilion. Su Fong looked coldly at the purple-robed youth, and his pupils constricted slightly. This purple-robed youth was surrounded by a dense, mysterious purple aura. It was not the great purple aura, but a kind of heavenly fate that was born with him. Above the purple-robed youth's head, there was a surge of purple aura, and one could vaguely see the shadow of a purple dragon coiling in it. The purple-robed youth's entire body exuded a shocking amount of heavenly fate, as if he was the darling of the heavenly Tao. The mysterious purple aura and purple dragon were difficult to see with the primordial spirit, but Su Fong had the purple fate spell body, so naturally he could see it clearly. The geniuses present all had great heavenly fate. However, this purple-robed youth's amazing heavenly fate was something that no other genius could compare to. Even the four Tao children were far from it. For a genius with such amazing heavenly fate, everything went smoothly. Even if he sat at home and did nothing, good things would still happen to him. Naturally, his cultivation speed was extremely shocking. Su Fong said indifferently, "Cultivators can be killed, but dignity cannot be trampled on. I was humiliated by them. Do I have to endure it to not be arrogant and domineering?" The purple-robed youth sneered. "You're just a slave from a low-level universe. What kind of status do Li Xiaoran and Hu Jin have? I look down on cultivators like you the most. Once you've achieved a little, you start to become arrogant and domineering, looking down on everyone and everything. You're really disgusting." Su Fong mocked. "You're not a disciple of the 5 divine tribes. You're just trying to step on me and curry favor with the 5 divine tribes. If I'm a despicable person, then what are you? A shameless, despicable person who only knows how to curry favor." The purple-robed youth sneered. "I'm Long Tianxi of the Hong Tian divine realm. Hong Tian Daozu is my master. With my status, there's naturally no need for me to curry favor with the 5 divine tribes. I just can't stand seeing a despicable person like you, so I can't help but say a few words of justice. Hong Tian divine realm? Hong Tian Daozu? Hong Tian divine realm was the will of the 9 divine realms, and Hong Tian Daozu was the supreme being of Hong Tian divine realm. Who would have thought that this purple-robed youth was Daozu's disciple?" Long Tianxi smiled domineeringly and looked disdainfully at Su Fong. "Are you going to get out yourself, or do you want me to throw you out?" Su Fong sneered. "Why don't you teach me how to get out? Arrogant person, then I'll teach you how to behave." Long Tianxi released his thoughts and turned into a purple dragon shadow. He opened his mouth towards Su Fong and sucked. Su Fong felt that his luck was about to be sucked away. Even his purple luck avatar was losing control and was about to leave the Jushuan Dao Palace. Moving spider. Su Fong was shocked. He immediately activated the moving spider and shot out threads from his eyes into the purple dragon shadow. The purple dragon let out a furious roar and its body exploded, shattering the threads. The purple dragon shadow also disappeared. Su Fong and Long Tianxi's body shook, and they both took 3 steps back. "You do have a right to be arrogant." Long Tianxi smiled embarrassedly and ignored Su Fong. He went back to his seat. "This Long Tianxi won't attack me so simply. He must have another motive," Su Fong thought to himself. He was wary of Long Tianxi. "I've long heard that the #1 genius of the Eastern Xian divine realm, Su Fong, is arrogant and overbearing. Today, I've seen you in person. Since you're here, I'll treat you to a drink. I just don't know if you're qualified to drink." A green-robed Taoist of the Shun clan suddenly shouted coldly. He waved his hand, and the golden wine cup on the table in front of him flew slowly towards Su Fong. Su Fong looked at the wine cup with a solemn look in his eyes. The green-robed youth had merged his thoughts into the wine cup. As long as it touched the wine cup, his thoughts would explode and release a shocking power. Even if Su Fong wasn't injured, he would be in a sorry state. If he avoided it, Su Fong would be considered to have lost. He would be laughed at by the other geniuses. Su Fong is going to make a fool of himself this time. Yi Feishu is the Taoist of the Yi clan. He's one of the top geniuses in the Central Xian divine realm and even the entire Jiushuan divine realm. With him personally taking action, how can Su Fong not suffer? Su Fong has thoroughly offended the Yi clan in the Eastern Xian divine realm. How can Yi Feishu not take revenge for the Yi clan? That Su Fong is so arrogant. Yi Feishu only wants to embarrass him. That's because Yi Feishu doesn't want to lose his dignity. Otherwise, how can he let him live? Many cultivators were laughing at Su Fong. They were waiting to see Su Fong make a fool of himself. Sima Xiao Xiao suddenly said, "Su Fong, you don't have to drink young Master Ye's wine. You're concerned about me?" Su Fong looked at Sima Xiao Xiao with a smile. He actually ignored the wine cup that was slowly flying toward him. A domineering aura that looked down on everything suddenly appeared. Sima Xiao Xiao's face turned red. She immediately glared at Su Fong fiercely. Just as the wine cup was about to hit Su Fong's body, he suddenly waved his sleeves and a red and black light wheel appeared, enveloping the wine cup. Formless heavenly wheel. Su Fong used the Tao of Yin and Yang of the heavenly way spell body together with the will visualization technique to display the formless heavenly wheel. It was called the Yin Yang heavenly wheel. As the light wheel spun, it released the true meaning of Yin and Yang samsara, which actually dissolved the thoughts in the wine cup. I, Su Fong, don't want to drink young Master Ye's wine. I'll return it in full. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. With a whoosh, the wine cup whizzed toward Yi Feishu. Humph, you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Yi Feishu let out a snort of laughter. He waved his sleeves, and a gust of aura enveloped the wine cup, forcefully sealing Su Fong's yin-yang heavenly wheel in the wine cup. The wine cup slowly landed on the table in front of him. It's fine if I don't attend such a banquet. Goodbye. Su Fong let out an unruly smile and strode out of the pavilion. No matter how arrogant he is, he still has to leave in the end. Some of the geniuses sneered. You're just a clown who doesn't know his place. In the finals, I'll teach you a lesson. Yi Feishu looked at Su Fong's back view, and a fierce aura surged from his eyes. Who knew, without waiting for him to finish his sentence, the wine cup on the table suddenly exploded. The wine inside was like streaks of sword aura, splattering in all directions. Yi Feishu's divine light changed slightly as he activated his defense. Only then did he avoid being splashed by the wine. The others did not have his reaction speed and strength. A few of the geniuses were caught off guard and were hit by the wine. Although they were not injured, they were all in a sorry state. Chapter 2969. Yi Feishu was the number 1 Tao Lord of the Yi clan, yet he'd clearly fallen into a disadvantageous position in his first confrontation with Su Fong, and he was instantly embarrassed. Yi Feishu, forget it. How could Su Fong be an ordinary figure since he was able to obtain the number 1 position in a divine region? You were too careless. It's normal for you to lose face. Hu Jun and Li Shaoran intend to use the banquet to humiliate him. Aren't they underestimating Su Fong a little too much? Not to mention that even if they humiliate Su Fong this time, what's the point of using power to suppress others? It'll only give others a reason to criticize. Exactly. Once the finals begin, we'll crush him with our strength. At that time, who would dare to be unconvinced? The other 3 Tao Lords transmitted their thoughts to Yi Feishu. Yi Feishu snorted resentfully. Forget it. I'll let him be arrogant for now. Even though Su Fong had left, the banquet still continued. However, after Su Fong caused such a commotion, everyone's faces were gloomy, and the banquet's atmosphere was naturally not as relaxed and joyful as before. After Su Fong returned to his pavilion, he quickly threw the banquet to the back of his mind. He'd expected that the 5 great clans would seek revenge after coming to the central profound divine region. The revenge at the banquet was just the beginning, and it was nothing. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. No matter what kind of revenge it is, I'll accept it all. When the time comes, I'll crush them with my strength. He continued to immerse himself in his cultivation, and he mainly focused on cultivating various abilities. Another 100 years passed. Su Fong was cultivating in Fu Yao's cave when he suddenly opened his eyes and released a thought that flew out of the cave and pavilion. It passed through the barrier and transformed into a lifelike image. Outside the barrier, the cultivator from the southern profound divine region, Qiu Changfeng, had been wandering around for a long time. Young Master Su Fong. When he saw the image formed by Su Fong's thought, Qiu Changfeng hurriedly bowed, and he seemed extremely respectful and polite. Are you looking for Sima Xiao Xiao? She's not in the pavilion. Come back another day. Su Fong had already sensed that Sima Xiao's aura wasn't on the second floor. She'd obviously gone out. A smile appeared on Qiu Chongfeng's face. It was young Miss Sima who asked me to invite young Master Su Fong. What did Sima Xiao invite me to do? Why didn't she tell me directly? Why did she ask you to invite me? Su Fong asked in surprise. Qiu Chongfeng quickly smiled apologetically and said, "This. Young Mistress Sima specially set up this banquet to apologize to young Master Su Fong and to thank you for your help in the medicine god Dao. I think young Mistress Sima is too shy to tell you directly. Thus, she prepared the banquet and sent me to invite young Master Su Fong. Is that true?" Su Fong revealed a faint smile as he glanced at Qiu Chongfeng's empty right arm. Qiu Chongfeng's right arm had been injured by Su Fong's Hongmeng Qi in Su Ruo Valley, and it had not recovered yet. Qiu Chongfeng smiled embarrassedly and said, "How would I dare to deceive young Master Su Fong? Where is Sima Xiao hosting the banquet? It's a New Moon brothel." New Moon brothel again? Fine, let's go then. Lead the way. Su Fong's original body came out of the pavilion. As Qiu Chongfeng walked in front, Su Fong's glabella suddenly split open a vertical eye. Future true eye. The three eyes suddenly flickered with a strange light of deduction. Then, scenes of what Qiu Chongfeng had experienced over the past few days appeared in the vertical eye between his glabella. Su Fong's eyes returned to normal, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. Qiu Chongfeng felt that his entire body, including his soul, had been seen through. He could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. He could not help but ask, "Young Master Su Fong, what's the matter?" Su Fong smiled casually and said, "Nothing much. I'm just thinking about a friend from the central profound divine region. I haven't seen him for a long time, and I miss him." Qiu Chongfeng asked curiously, "May I know who young Master Su Fong's friend is?" Su Fong said, Hu Yufei." Qiu Chongfeng felt a chill run down his spine and spread throughout his entire body. "Let's go. Don't let Sima Xiao wait for too long." Su Fong suddenly snorted, revealing an unfathomable aura that made Qiu Chongfeng's Dao heart tremble. New Moon Pavilion. In a pavilion deep in the city, Hu Yufei was lazily lying on a soft chair, with Zhan Chun standing behind her. Opposite Hu Yufei sat a skinny black-clothed youth. His face was pale, as if he had just recovered from a serious illness. Hu Yufei looked at the black-clothed youth and asked, "Shadow Killer, you won't disappoint this young master this time, right? When the Shadow Kill Alliance takes action, they have never failed. 30 Windwing Yao who are proficient in archery, and I, Shadow Butcher, am personally taking action. It will be a miracle if that Su Fong doesn't die." The black-clothed youth called Shadow Butcher said in a cold and embarrassed voice. Hu Yufei was still worried. This young master naturally knows how powerful the Shadow Kill Alliance is, but you shouldn't underestimate Su Fong. In the Eastern Xian Divine Realm, the Shadow Clan expert by this lord's side died at the hands of the experts by his side. Furthermore, "Young master, have you been scared out of your wits by Su Fong?" Shadow Killer interrupted before Hu Yufei could finish her sentence. He then stared at Hu Yufei, his originally unfocused eyes turning sharp and cold. "Young Master Hu, on the other hand, don't go back on your word after this. In the Jiushuan Divine Realm, no one dares to break their promise with the Shadow Kill Alliance. As long as Su Fong dies, this young master will naturally honor his promise to you," Hu Yufei said viciously, her eyes filled with hostility. "That's great." Shadow Killer nodded, and his figure rapidly turned into nothingness, disappearing from Hu Yufei's sight in an instant. Zhan Chun sighed, inwardly in front of Hu Yufei. "Su Fong, oh Su Fong, of all the people you could have offended, you actually chose to offend this good-for-nothing Hu Yufei. Trouble is coming again, and it's not just any kind of trouble. I hope you could be as lucky as last time." Hu Yufei stood up and chuckled. "Business is done. Let's go and find that ice beauty from the profound Yuxian Divine Realm." "Yes, young master," Zhan Chun replied woodenly, but he was actually feeling extremely depressed. He was one of the top 20 peerless geniuses in the central Xian Divine Realm, but his identity was Hu Yufei's slave and follower. That was not all. Hu Yufei, that idiot, had recently changed his taste. He had taken a liking to a female cultivator from the profound Yuxian divine realm and was constantly pestering her. Zhan Chun, on the other hand, was treated like a slave and was ordered by Hu Yufei to constantly harass that female cultivator. How could he not be depressed? It could not be helped. Who asked him to be the slave of Hu people? Su Fong left his loft with Qiu Changfeng and came to the New Moon Tavern. Su Fong. At the entrance of the New Moon Tavern, Su Fong bumped into some geniuses from the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion. Other than Dongxian Huiwang and Dongxian Ichen, Dongxian Lai, Dongxian Xinyang, and Dongxian Qingwei were also present. There were also some peerless geniuses from other divine realms. Feng Daocheng from the Royal Divine Realm was also present. Dongxian Lai was still as straightforward and fiery as before. Once he saw Su Fong, he said bluntly, "Su Fong, I didn't expect you to become Dongshuan's #1. This reputed one is only barely ranked 11th in the Middle Xian Divine Realm. I didn't even enter the top 10. Where should I put my face?" Su Fong could only smile bitterly. If these three top geniuses were all in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm, Su Fong would indeed not be qualified to be #1. All three of them were extraordinary characters. There were also Dongxian Daozu's 2 direct disciples that Su Fong had never seen before. They were more than 10 times stronger than these three, mysterious and powerful. Dongxian Xinyang nodded at Su Fong with a smile. It is Dongshuan's fortune that the Eastern Profound Divine Realm can produce a genius like you. However, you are a little too cruel to the disciples of the Heaven Pavilion. Su Fong smiled awkwardly, but did not say anything. Dongxian Huihuang's eyes flashed with resentment. He had lost a part of his right arm to Su Fong's primordial qi and could not recover it. With Dongxian Daozu's strength, it would be easy for him to recover it, but he had rejected it decisively. Losing an arm did not affect his strength much. He wanted to use it to hone his Dao heart, to never forget his hatred for Su Fong and surpass Su Fong. Dongxian Qingwei said coldly, "Don't embarrass Dongxian in the finals. Otherwise, this reputed one will settle the matter of Dongxian Jun with you." Dongxian Jun? Dongxian Jun had colluded with Hu Yufei and the Feng clan in an attempt to kill Su Fong, but Feng Jinhua had ambushed and killed him instead. Although the Heaven Pavilion did not pursue the matter, many people still remembered this for Su Fong. For example, Dongxian Jun's master, the exalted Venerable Golden Peak, and Dongxian Qingwei. Su Fong had heard from Dongxian Ichen that Dongxian Qingwei and Dongxian Jun were from the same clan. Although they were not very close, they were still from the same clan. After parting with the geniuses of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm, Su Fong and Qiu Changfeng walked deeper into the New Moon brothel under the guidance of an attendant. "This person is Su Fong? I heard that this person is incomparably arrogant. Not long ago, he caused a ruckus at the banquet held by the young masters of the 5 divine families and offended all the peerless geniuses. It is a miracle that such an arrogant person can survive until now. He doesn't live up to his title as the Eastern Profound Divine Realm's #1. It's already quite impressive that he can enter the top 500 in the finals. Dongxian Huiwang, you are also a renowned genius in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. I didn't expect you to be defeated by this person. Is Su Fong too strong, or are you too weak?" After Su Fong left, the top geniuses from other divine realms were discussing fervently. They all thought that Su Fong did not live up to his title as Dongshuan's #1 genius. That Feng Daocheng even mocked Dongxian Huiwang in passing, causing Dongxian Huiwang to lose all face. The attendant brought Su Fong and Qiu Changfeng to an independent pavilion in the depths of the New Moon brothel. Although the environment here was not as good as the banquet held by the 5 divine families Taoists, it was still an independent space created by divine powers. The environment was very quiet, and the pavilion was surrounded by verdant trees and fake mountains. The bright moonlight emitted by the divine moon above the New Moon brothel happened to fall on the 2nd floor, creating a unique atmosphere. The banquet upstairs was fully prepared, but there was no one. Sima Xiao Xiao was nowhere to be seen, nor were there any other guests.